Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
Do it live with me. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to the Film Guy Network on a terrific Tuesday evening. We do indeed have a loaded show for you guys. I want to start with this. Today's word of the day. I don't know if you guys did this back in elementary school and in middle school. Get a little wad in, little word of the day. I got a word of the day for you today. It's actually one of those, what do you call it, hyphenated words, where it's two words and it's hyphenated in the middle. Don't know what contraction? Not a contraction. Either way. Didn't pay attention during word of the day classes, obviously. Self-reflection. That is our word of the day, or I guess two words of the day. I'm a big proponent. I can't lie to you. I spend an overwhelming and seemingly growing portion of my day thinking about the actions I've made and the steps I can take to become better. I think it's about the only option you have as an individual in this world. Being your own coach in life is uber critical, I have found. Honestly, it's something I really struggled with when I got done playing football. I played 19 seasons, and every day of my life, it felt like even during the off season, there was somebody there to hold me to be accountable, right? There was somebody there to tell me, hey, that rep wasn't good enough, or hey, your effort wasn't good enough today, or hey, this is how we can get better, or hey, what do you think you can do? How can we, engage in conversation with you as the athlete to make you a better athlete? Something I really struggled with when I got done playing, because it's always been a constant in my life, always having someone around, whether it be a coach or a teammate or somebody to be an accountability partner there for me. And now that I'm out of football, I'm forced to do these things on my own, right? I feel like everybody has this type of story as an athlete or just an individual. How do I go about being self-reflective? How do I go about making sure I'm improving upon myself on a day-to-day basis? Something I think we all struggle with. And as an athlete, I always depended upon other people to help me do that, right? Hold me to be accountable, whether, again, it be my coaches or my teammates. Little did I know that the really great football players, the really great athletes across all athletic endeavors in sports, they're self-reflective. They're self-critical upon their own selves. They take it upon their own right to do these things, right? They have personable accountability. Their self-reflection is critical in their success. They're already going about doing these things by themselves before a coach is over there to add on top of these things, right? We had an article today from The Athletic who got bought out by the New York Times. Did that surprise you guys today when you saw that? NewYorkTimes.com?
I think
an athletic piece.
I've been catching that the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. They just made the transition over. New York Times bought The Athletic, say, about 8 months ago. So just a little, what do you call it? Media news right there for you. But nonetheless, I do the reading, so you don't have to. This is a self-reflection article is what I'm calling this. This is interviewing some of college football's best quarterbacks at the Manning Academy. There's about 6 guys that they spoke to in this article. I'm only going to name 2 of them because I felt like 2 of these quarterbacks show obvious signs in their answers in this interview of self-reflection. You can hear it in their answers that these people have been very critical about their performance and how to go about improving it. Okay, so I want to read these things to you first. And the first thing I'm going to read to you is a little bit of what we call quarterback talk. This is no different than coach speak. This is garbage, is what it is. This is I'm saying words. None of them mean anything. Like this right here. What are you working to improve upon? I'm just working on just taking full command of the team, and I think I've done a pretty good job. I'm just a lot more comfortable in my own skin and a lot more comfortable just taking charge in that aspect of the game. So, I've been working on being a better leader. That's awesome. How about this? Let's ask another quarterback the same exact question, and let's listen to the differences in the answer. Quarterback A, I'm just working on being a better leader. I think I've done a pretty good job of it. Just a little bit more comfortable in my own skin nowadays. That ought to be good. Quarterback number 2, same exact question. What primary thing have you been working on? I think the biggest thing is not even like football-wise, but taking a step further as being a leader goes, being better connected with the guys on our team and really trying to understand the guys around me. What's their why? What makes them tick? Like what's going to get them to go? How can I be a better leader? So that's one thing that I've really been trying to improve upon. As far as football goes, it's just trying to be consistent, just working on the same things week in and week out, throwing on the run, deep ball, quick game. There's so many different aspects of football where, you're always improving. You're either improving or you're getting worse. You're never staying the same. But yeah, I mean, there's so many areas to continue to get better at. Those two guys said the same thing. Those two guys said the same thing completely differently, right? One guy, quarterback speak. The other guy, tat, 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 tat. This is how I'm going about being a better leader. I know I need to be a better leader. Here's how I'm doing it. And oh, by the way, here's the things I'm working on the actual football field, because guess what? I have taken the time to really self-reflect on my performance. How can I go about getting better? Okay, I got some more for you. Some more quote unquote quarterback talk. All right, this is a question about being deemed a NFL franchise quarterback, right? Being invested in at the top of the rounds of the NFL draft. What would it mean to you? What do you think it means to you to be notified or quantified as a franchise leader? You ready? Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. First, I've got to go play well this year. So yeah, I'm excited for all the opportunities in front of me. Super blessed to be in the position that I'm in. I know a lot of people would want to be in this position, and I just try to think about that stuff every day. There's probably a million people who wish they could play the quarterback at the school that I'm at, the opportunity to go to play in the NFL next year. So yeah, that kind of just puts a different perspective on things. Same exact question. How are you dealing with being high on NFL draft boards? Different answer, completely different answer coming right here. Honestly, I mean, none of that really crosses my mind. Obviously, it's a thing and it's real. I'm not just going to play stupid and act like it's not there, but that's not my mentality, and that's not where my focus is. It is very much just day by day and be where your feet are. Stay grounded and don't go too far into the future. Don't go back into the past, which is very hard to do. It's very challenging, especially in the world today where there's so much stuff always around you, so much noise, but just stay grounded where you're at, and it usually makes life a little bit more simple.
I feel like I've heard that before.
I think I have too, and we're going to reveal some of these names, at least the good quarterbacks. I don't feel like dogging anybody out here. Quarterback 2 right now is Carson Beck. There's another quarterback in this article that I want to read from, because this dude, super introspective. This guy is super self-reflective. This guy thinks about, hey, what have I been doing? What are we doing as a unit? How can we go about getting better not only as an offensive unit, but as a program? How can we go about doing all these things? Because after all, I'm kind of the leader of the program. Let's read from our boy, Graham Mertz. Graham Mertz get a lot of shit, right? Graham Mertz getting dunked on left and right all offseason last year. Had a relatively good year, facing one of the hardest schedules in the SEC in the history of the conference, most would believe. Even though I have seen some people comment, oh, put Alabama in that schedule, tell me how hard it is. Put Georgia in that schedule, tell me how hard it is. It's hard. It's a really, really hard schedule this year at Florida, no matter how you look at it. This is Graham Mertz's answer on his primary aspect he's working on this offseason. Again, same exact question, phrased a little bit differently to all these guys. Here it comes. I was there last year, so I got a year under my belt. I think one thing that we are blessed with in this system we have in Florida, I think as a new player, it forced you to really catch on quickly, and that was one thing I really benefited from, just the structure of it. So for me right now, we've got a lot of new guys. We've got a lot of guys coming back that were young last year. So how do we maximize our time? How do we get a little bit better every single day? And how do you keep that focus and that urgency in what we do? For me, you know what you're going to do. You know how to do it. How do you go get everybody to buy into that? You truly move as one. So for me, it's waking up every day. How do you truly move as one to get towards that goal together? Because obviously we weren't satisfied with last year. Super introspective answer. It's not, we're getting better. I hope to be a good leader this year. I'm a little bit more confident. That's great. No, that guy has clearly thought about everything that it is in terms of the processes to get better. He continues, what are you working on physically? It was a follow-up question. And I love this answer, honestly, because this tells me he's not only critically thinking about his performance and his play, how do I get better on the field as a quarterback? He has taken that same analytical, super reflective stance on how he's becoming better physically. Listen to this. What are you working on physically? Graham Mertz says, I think a big thing for me, because I've been in college for 6 years, you always bench, you always squat, you always clean, you try to get fast, try to get a little bit faster, you work on mobility. But for me, it's finding new ways to attack it and embracing new things and trying to open my mind to change in some areas, trying to just get, like I said to other guys, a little bit better every single day. It's trying new things to either add to my routine or subtract another thing from my routine. That's a leader of an organization. Look, I'm not saying I would draft any of these guys over, or excuse me, behind Graham Mertz. Carson Beck is QB1 for me right now, heading into the season. I think he will remain that based off everything that I've seen from his performances previously. I don't expect some major drop-off this year. Therefore, I don't expect some type of major drop-off in his, draft stock. However, it is very clear to me how some of these people and some of these quarterbacks, I should say, go about self-improvement. And it, to me, guys, when I read those articles and when I read those quotes, it stuck out like a sore thumb to me just how differently some of these guys spoke about their own game.
I think that shows up in their play too, like specifically for Graham Mertz and Carson Beck, like super introspective people, and also like they're also two of the most accurate quarterbacks in the SEC last year. Like they played that way, and they felt like two people that were introspective about how they play the game of football. They fully understand what is going on the field, and you can see that through their IQ in the game. Like they care about this, and they have full command of what's going on.
Yeah, and you have to do a lot of reading into the way people answer these questions because, I mean, most players aren't going to give you a raw and uncut answer because, I mean, they've been so media trained. So you kind of have to look between the lines as to what they're saying. And you can tell the ones that do deeply introspectively look at themselves and others who are just like, hey, I'm really happy to be in the position I'm at, and I'm going to try to answer this question the right way and say all the correct things. Like, you can read through that pretty easily.
I feel like Beck and Mertz presented themselves as like fully grown individuals. Now, Mertz is damn 35, so how could he not be? So we get that. But they spoke with a level of professionalism that stuck out. And there's a lot of coachisms in their speak, meaning they listen. They listen to the things that their coaches have obviously repeated over and over and over again.
They're the two oldest players on that list, aren't they?
Except for maybe Will Howard. I don't know how old Will Howard is. Will Howard's probably a fifth-year guy.
Yeah.
But the other guys on this list are relatively young, like Quinn Ewers and Kyle McCord. Yeah. So you are true. And Riley Leonard's a fifth-year guy, so he's older. But either way, it was very, very obvious to me when reading that those two guys they're adults, man. And this is an adult-based position, in my opinion. Think about it. All these guys can throw. I mean, we talk about this every year when we go out the Elite 11. You watch 20 guys from across the country throw the piss out the football. Every single one of them can throw it. And then you wonder what separates these guys. You wonder why, some of these stats we're going to give you later on Carson Beck. Why didn't some of these guys work out? Why did 10 of the 12 guys that were ranked ahead of Carson Beck either transfer or switch positions? Why don't they work out? Well, a lot of it is processing. A lot of it is consistently making the right decisions. A lot of it is constantly being self-reflective about your play. A lot of it is being self-taught. A lot of it is being improving, right? A lot of it is winning in the margins. And when I see this on paper like this, I see the margins. At least I do. And I wanted to read those out loud to you guys to see if you did as well. Other things I learned from this article, because I read so you don't. Kyle McCord apparently played hurt all year last year. I think it was a lower body injury, maybe an ankle of some sorts. I think I knew about that, but I didn't know about it. I don't remember it. Worth noting, right? He's going into Syracuse this year. Had a really tough year last year. 2,800 yards, a lot of turnovers, red zone issues galore. It was just not great. He's out of there now. Will Howard in there. Will Howard, speaking of, has lost about 15 pounds since he got to Ohio State. Arrived at Ohio State at almost 250 pounds. He was 248. Whoa. He's rolling around at 235 right now. Wants to get down to 230 before the season starts. I would imagine he probably played at 250 last fall at Kansas State.
Probably.
I feel like big guys get bigger, small guys get smaller during the season. As the weather cools, you're going to add on weight if you're prone to do so. What other things did y'all read this? I know you didn't. You told me that before the show. Did you read this?
I read it, but I didn't go into a deep dive like you did on it.
Well, I read so y'all don't have to. So
I would say that though the Kyle McCord thing, I think that kind of shows me that there was maybe a bigger separation between him and Devin Brown last season. The fact that obviously football players play hurt. Like there is pain throughout the season and you just don't have a choice sometimes. But I think that kind of corresponds to with their actions in the offseason. We want to go find ourselves a quarterback in the transfer portal. Devin Brown, you're not our starting quarterback.
This is so goddamn mature. It's very challenging, especially in the world today where there's so much stuff always around you, so much noise, but just stay grounded where you're at and it usually makes life more simple. That's Carson Beck speaking, man.
Beware
that's a grown-ass man.
Yeah, be where your feet are is a mantra from Kirby Smart that's been in there since he's got to the program. Like they have win above their locker. What's important now? Like stuff like that. It's very similar. So, and you notice a lot of these players that have these good coaches will start to mimik or mirror what they say. Yeah. Because it's a philosophy that you got to live by.
I'm like 45% Kenny Dallas, and then like an amalgamation of the rest of them. So, yeah, shout out Kenny D. Anyways, welcome into tonight's show. We do indeed have a loaded one for you guys. We got a recruiting rankings update. Quinn Ewers apparently talking some shiznit. It made the show notes. I didn't actually write about it. We might bring it up if we run out of time. We got a hot seat tier list, SEC coaches only. We're going to rank them 1 to 3. Tell you about that here in just a little bit. DJ Uiagalelei pulled a PR 101 move today that was just chef's kiss. On the other hand, Mike Gundy did not, and we're going to talk about that tonight. Arch Manning, maybe we talk about it, maybe we don't. I just think it's funny. I think it's a classic Manning move. I think, I'm going to rant on this right now. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. I'm going to talk about PrizePicks here in just a second. I think the Mannings have an ability to wield and yield leverage with just, I don't give a shit about nobody else. I'm going to do everything in my power to get the best position for me. They are very, very selfish individuals, and that's okay. They get to do it that way. The only thing that's crazy to me is nobody ever calls it out. Like Eli did this shit. Eli didn't want to play for the Chargers, so guess what he did? I ain't going. So he forced him to trade the pick. He ends up in New York. He's the last one to do that in the last 25 years. Why? Because he's friggin' Eli Manning, okay? Peyton gets the neck done, right? And then he's a free agent. But anyways, holds the whole NFL hostage, has done basically the same thing as a media personality since he's got out of the league. I'm not mad at it. I just wish more people would talk about it. Arch Manning comes out here, shit, I ain't trying to be no distraction. I ain't playing in no video game. Now he's a paid ambassador. Now he's a paid advertiser. The only athlete in the entire game to have his own goddamn commercial. After wielding, again, the Manning leverage. Nobody talks about it. I'm not mad at it. I would do it too if I were quarterback or football's family, which is what they are. But damn, what a move of manipulation from the Mannings today. How about that alliteration?
Certainly.
I'll tell you what, I would feel some type of way if I was a college, like especially one of these more prominent college football players, like, I don't know, somebody that's a starting quarterback for one of these football teams, and find out that, I saw a tweet today that said they get paid $6,000 to do an that commercial, that little commercial, that Arch Manning was paid $6,000.
What'd they pay Eli?
I don't know.
He ain't do that shit for free.
No.
He ain't do that shit for free.
He says that he's not going to be in your video game, so then you pay him $6,000 to do a commercial saying he's in. But I get my $600 in my video game.
You almost imagine this was a plan for the Mannings all along.
Oh, dude, everything's calculated from those dudes.
Sure.
Whole entire family thinks about these things far more critically than anybody else, and that's why they have all this leverage. Again, the tone, as usual, was probably bad there. Probably sounded like a hater, but I use the tone because I don't think anybody ever talks about it. It's like, God dang, these Mannings are back at it again.
No doubt.
All right. Let's talk about this hot seat tier list. Here's how this is going to go. I got 3 categories. I can't see shit. 3. We're ranking them 1 out of 3. 3, Heat Gowan. All right. And this is within the last 3 years. What are y'all looking at?
It was between 50 and 60,000 to promote college football, actually. Not 6,000.
Oh.
Says NIL whispers EA paid Texas QB Arch Manning between 50 to 60,000 to promote college football 25.
That's insane.
Somebody said they're the Kennedys of the football world. Maybe the Clintons.
Good God.
Hot seat tier list. Here's how we're going to do this. This is over the next 3 years. That is our qualifier. So we got 3 categories. 1 is they good. That coach is going to be there within the next 3 years. Don't foresee them being fired. Don't foresee them leaving either. That's the difference in our hot seat tier rankings. The school's a little bit on the hot seat too in some of these schools. All right, some of these situations. That coach might not be there because he might go get a better job. So we'll talk about that as well, and we'll rank that within this. All right, 1 is they good. 2 is let's see. I'm not 100% positive either way. We're going to have to sit out the next 3 years to actually evaluate what's happening here before we make a staunch decision. And then number 3, he got no shot to survive the next 3 years. He is absolutely fired. All right, how do you want to do this, boys? Do you want to take one of the groups first, either top or bottom, and clear it out?
I think that the they gones are kind of
Easy.
Blatant, right?
Yeah, I think there's 4 obvious. These guys will be fired within the next 3 years. Those 4 guys: Clark Lee, Shane Beamer, Sam Pittman, Billy Napier.
Okay, I made a 4th category and put "I don't know" in all caps because I don't know what Clark Lee's future is at Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
You'd have to imagine that he's not going to win a lot of games, but is Vanderbilt really upset that he's not going to win a lot of games to the point where they're going to say, okay, enough is enough. We need to get a new guy in here who's going to win us 3 games a season.
I think that though, like the way I picture Vanderbilt's like head coaching gig in the football program is this is just kind of what they do is you bring in a guy, you keep him around for 5 seasons, probably not going to win. Let's get a new face in there. Maybe we pick up some more momentum, and it's just a wash, rinse, repeat.
Yeah,
do the same thing over and over and over.
It's been a revolving door. He's been there for what, 3 years now? This is his 4th year?
No, this is year 3.
Okay.
Under Clark Lee.
Okay. So
I only remember this because the Atlanta Media Days, SEC Media Days were in Atlanta 2 years ago. Buddy got up on the stand and talked for 37 minutes. I mean, monotoned. Oh, either way, could tell he played fullback. And then, the next year he was like, my wife and kids made fun of me. I was way too long last year. I'm going to be tighter. 33 and a half minutes. I put the stopwatch on. It was long. So yeah, this is year 3. And we're going for a total of 90 minutes in 3 SEC Media Days for Clark Lee.
Hell yeah. There's exciting things happening in the Vanderbilt football program.
That's what I was just about to make a joke of.
They got a new stadium.
It's my job to talk. I think I talk really, really well. You couldn't pay me to talk 30 minutes about Vanderbilt football. I don't think I could. Could you pull out 30 minutes on Vandy football?
If I was the head coach?
No. Just you right now. I say tomorrow, you got to come in here and give me 30 strong on Vandy.
If you give me prep, yeah.
If you give me some prep, I'd be hard work. I'd have to work very hard to do it.
I've written show notes for 7 years now. Not a shot in hell. That would be not only a terrible segment because no one would pay attention, but a terrible segment because I couldn't get through it.
Yeah.
Either way, those are the 4. Do we have the solid 4? We're all in agreements. No pushing back.
There.
All right, let's go to the 1s. All right, and then we'll come back to the 2s. Now the 1s, remember, they're good. These guys ain't going nowhere within the next 3 years. I think there's several, or at least 2 off the bat that are undeniable. Sark and Kirby. They're not going anywhere unless they choose to do so. Yeah. I don't see Sark going to the NFL anytime soon. I don't see Kirby doing it either. I put Brian Kelly in this list, and here's why. He signed through 2031. He's got a $65 million buyout. I don't think they're eating that one.
No, I think he's also going to do he's not going to do bad enough to where LSU's going to have to fire him in 3 years. Like, this isn't going to be an Ed Orgeron where you have a really, really good season, then after that it just all collapses, or it's a Les Miles, or it's like a slow burn. Like, I think Brian Kelly's going to be a solid coach for the next few seasons, long enough that it'll get him through the next 3 years.
9-2 survives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think your first 2 seasons alone keep you around for a while. And then this year you have Garrett Nussmeier. I think he's going to be a viable option for the Tigers. I don't think you're going to be competing for the SEC title necessarily, but also you have Bryce Underwood coming in this next year, and that buys you even more time. So you're getting it done on the recruiting trail. You've won football games. You've shown all the promise you absolutely need to.
And by the way, Colin Hurley, a 4-star quarterback that reclassed into 2024, is on campus already. So super talented individual there as well. So he's got quarterback play for the next several years. I put Josh Heupel in this category of 1s. He signed through 2029. The buyout is $46.5 million. On top of the fact that I saw this in an article the other day. Josh Heupel has averaged 9.5 wins. The previous 25 years of Tennessee football, they averaged 7. He ain't going nowhere.
No, absolutely not.
That includes 98 too, doesn't it?
No, it's 2000 to basically when he was hired, which is 20 years, not 25. My bad. So yeah, it's been pretty bad for Tennessee football for a while, and he has provided a breath of fresh air in terms of stability. On top of the fact that his AD is his best friend, so I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, you think of any possible checklist that you would want of someone who takes over a program like Tennessee, where it was like at the end of Pruitt's tenure, and then you get this Heupel guy to come in, and he not only gets you to the number 1 ranking in the college football playoff, he also upsets arguably one of your biggest rivals. You get that win, you get that monkey off of your back, and you're recruiting well, and you have good quarterback play. Like, check all across the board. You had a good defense last year. You just didn't have the offense. Like, anything possible for Heupel that you needed to check off, he's done that in the last 3 years.
I mean, on top of all that, the 2022 season alone bought him the next 5 years. Like, the amount of hope that you provided and outlook that you provided Tennessee fans off of that one season alone bought you the next 5 years just because of that.
All right, I got Kalen DeBoer in this list. A lot of people will hear this, especially non-Alabama fans. They will hear this and they'll be like, well, we've seen shorter leashes on 3-year runs, and what if he just doesn't work out? What if it's terrible? I don't – look, this ain't Brian Harsin, okay? Brian Harsin came to Auburn from Boise State as the not Chris Peterson guy out there at Boise State, right? Mm-hmm. When he came here, it was like, all right, I mean, yeah, he had like, I think a 9-win season. Was like consistently 8-5, and now Auburn's hiring him. Everybody's like, what? That guy came in with a short leash. All right. This ain't this one. This guy is a proven commodity. This guy is already ranked within the top 3 of all the SEC coaching rankings you can find. Everybody believes this guy is a great football coach. Not a good one, a great football coach. He'll get the leash, or at least he better, I would imagine. I don't think there's going to be any type of freak out. It's like a 9-3 season or anything like that. Now, you go 7-5, we got a different conversation.
Right. And I mean, on top of the Brian Harsin thing, Brian Harsin inherited a Gus Malzahn team that Gus Malzahn, let's be honest, wasn't super worried about recruiting. Right?
No.
Nick Saban's like MO for his entire career was being one of the best recruiters around. Now, that Alabama roster did get depleted when he left, but there's still a lot of pieces left there from the Saban era, and there's still a lot of talent on that team. And so I think Kalen DeBoer will be fine.
He's recruiting well now.
Yeah.
Extremely well.
Very well.
This was I know it's Alabama's 5-hour radius. It's Alabama. They care about football. You're trying to compare it to what he was doing at Washington. But his actions at Washington told me he was one of these coaches that was just like, just get them here, man. I'm gonna make them what they need to be. Mm-hmm. Just sign me a class. We'll make them great type deal. And he's taken a very, very different approach at Alabama. They're recruiting like Alabama always has, except for the in-state stuff, which you talked about the other day. That's a Hugh Freeze issue. That is not a Kalen DeBoer negative. That is a Hugh Freeze positive, in my opinion. So we all agree on those 5 or 6 so far. Sark, Kirby, Kelly, Heupel, and DeBoer. Yep. All right. The next ones are kind of iffy to me for a variety of reasons, right? Eli Drinkowitz, I don't think Missouri will ever fire him.
No.
He signed through 2028. They owe him 75% of the remaining contract if they fire him before the conclusion of said contract. However, I don't put it past Eli Drinkowitz to at least take some phone calls for some of these bigger jobs that are going to become available very soon.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely one of these guys that's going to be a hot name whenever a job opens up. But I also think that Missouri just kind of suits him. And the way things are going right now with the NIL laws that they have in place and stuff, it's kind of a really good spot for him to be. This isn't like an Ole Miss where Lane Kiffin openly says, like, I have trouble getting guys wanting to come here, things such as that. So I think Drink is happy in Missouri right now. And I think that'll at the very least, last the next 3 years.
I have him in their good, or I have him in their good tier because, I mean, the only possible job that I see opening in the near future that I could potentially see him taking would be the Florida job. Like, I don't see Drink going from Missouri to South Carolina right now. No. I don't feel like that's a move that he feels like he would need to make, and I don't think that'd be a good business decision for him. I don't see him going out to USC if Lincoln Riley wants that. I mean, maybe he does. I don't know, but I don't get that feel from Drinkowitz. I feel like if it is a job, it's the Florida job in the next 3 years. Other than that, I think he's at the Missouri Tigers.
All right, so we put him in this category. What about Hugh Freeze?
I think he's good.
I think he's fine.
But
I think he's good. The recruiting mo gets you 3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We saw that even from Beamer. Beamer got a 3-year run because of what he did on the trail very early on.
Yep.
But I also then I see things today like people putting Auburn ahead of Alabama in SEC rankings for this year. And it's like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't think that there is that much power of a fan base, but there can be. You know, we've seen it. We've witnessed it. I mean, it will.
Expectations will kill you.
I mean, so I would like to think that he is good. I think he's going to be okay there. I think he's going to survive. I think he's going to do well. But it's just kind of, there's some unpredictableness. That's not even a word, but I'm going to say it anyways.
Unpredictability was what you're looking for there, bud.
I don't see why he would leave. I don't think there's a school that's kind of like, hey, we really need to get this Hugh Freeze guy now. Like, he's had 1 year back in Power 4.
And, I mean, Auburn's a top 12 job.
Yeah.
Top 15 job.
I mean, it's up. You can make an argument for it. Yeah, certainly.
So, like, where's the level up for Hugh?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? It's not.
Is it the best?
This could be a 10, 12-year job for him.
Is it the best little brother job?
Oh, God, yeah. There is no big brother in the state of Florida right now.
That's what I was about to say. Like, they're all just kind of.
You can make the argument A&M's better because of funding, but.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah, that's not bad.
But I think it would be close at the very least. Like, you can make an argument either way.
Yeah, I would go A&M or Auburn. All right, so we're gonna put Hugh Freeze in this list. What about Lane Kiffin?
I have Lane Kiffin in 2. I think Lane Kiffin will stay at Ole Miss.
He's a flight risk.
I think Lane Kiffin will stay at Ole Miss as long as he wants to stay at Ole Miss. I don't think Lane Kiffin wants to stay at Ole Miss the next 3 years.
You don't let that guy get bailed, do you? He's a flight risk for sure.
Right.
I feel like every year he flirts.
I almost put him in the you better win or the 2 category because I think that he is in a season where you better win. Like this has to be your season, because if you don't this year, I think you get into this position where it's like, well, it's never going to happen with Lane Kiffin. If that's the case, what are we doing? Like I don't, and especially with when you have this uncertainty of, is he going to be here? Like, are you truly connected to us long term? If you're Ole Miss, if you don't get it done this year, you feel like it's never going to happen. I don't know what your future is, and I feel like you would feel the same way too if you're an Ole Miss fan. So I kind of want to put him in that 2 tier, but at the same time, I also have this feeling of it doesn't get much better for Ole Miss.
The closer we get to the 2024 season, the more it feels like Lane Kiffin has put all of his chips in on this Ole Miss team this year so that he can either A, win a national title and leave off in the sunset and be Ole Miss's hero for the rest of time, or not win the national title and say, you know what, that was my one shot, I'm going to go elsewhere and take the Florida job. Because, I mean, I feel like we all feel like the Florida job's going to be open this year, barring a miracle from Billy Napier. And that's gotten Lane Kiffin's name written all over it. So I think that's kind of what it's looking like now.
I heard somebody push back on me that Lane apparently, there were some things. I mean, he lived in Boca Raton for 3 years, guys.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
He was a frequenter at the local bar down there in Boca Raton. I think there might be some Florida hesitancy, but especially the way their athletic department is ran. I saw them listed as a new Ivy League school.
Yeah,
I think just because of athletic or academic, standards, and on top of that, the way the athletic program is apparently ran and how strict they are on certain things, and the fact that you're a version of a new Ivy League school, or people consider you that because of how you're ran. And then throwing Lane Kiffin into that don't really make a whole lot of sense to me. So I could see some hesitation from Florida on that front. But I question whether or not Kiffin goes in 1 or 2. Where's he go?
I put him in 2 just because if you told me that
3 years is a long time.
I pensively put him in 2 because, like, if you said, hey, in 3 years Lane Kiffin's not at Ole Miss, I would believe that. I would buy that.
That's a great point. So Lane takes the Miami job. Lane's ex-wife is UF royalty.
Interesting.
Put him in 2.
The chat out here just dropping knowledge bombs in the comment section. So shouts out to that. All right, that is our ones. Again, the ones: Sarkisian, Kirby, Brian Kelly, Josh Heupel, Kalen DeBoer. We put Drink in here, and we put Freeze in here, and we put Kiffin in the 2s. All right, so let's go.
I'd like to make one more addition to the ones, and you can disagree with me if you want. I'm putting Mike Elko in here.
Okay.
I think the expectations that they had hiring Jimbo Fisher, where, hey, we're going to be a national title team from here on out, and then miserably failing that, is going to be kind of regression back to the mean. Where Texas A&M is going to be fine with being an 8-4, 9-3, 10-2 win team for the next few seasons. I think Mike Elko is going to have a leash for a while.
I also had Mike Elko in here just off principle of my 3-year rule, or our 3-year rule too, of like, give him 3 years. And I think they will give him 3 years at Texas A&M.
I did some research, believe it or not. Did some research before the show. Texas A&M is extremely patient, far more patient with coaches than I believe most football programs to be. In the last 65 years of football, they've only had 2 football coaches only last 3 years: Tom Wilson and Hank Foldberg. Hank Foldberg back in the 60s got shit canned after 3 years. But apart from that, everybody pretty much gets a 5-year run. So, I'm with you there. Texas A&M and Mike Elko probably ends up in the 1s there. Even though I put them in the 2s just because I could see them being good.
Right.
But I could also see them not being good.
Yeah.
I also I shouldn't say hate. I don't like applying that, he won with less at Duke, so he's just going to win at a much higher rate now that he has funds and now that he has access to stuff. Maybe.
Right.
Maybe. If that were the case, every mid-major winner would be a massive winner at the Power 5 level. And we've seen over and over again, Billy Napier, that ain't always the case. Okay, so I don't necessarily always look at this, but I don't think Elko is as much of a I don't think the floor is very low. I think he's got a very high floor at A&M. Maybe the ceiling's not as high as some of these other guys, but he's going to be consistently above average.
Right, and I think with what you dealt with the last few years with Jimbo, I think a high floor will be welcome. Like, hey, you mean to tell me our regular season's 8 wins? I'll take that. After winning 3 with Jimbo, we were supposed to be national title contenders. So I think Texas A&M fans are going to be fine with Mike Elko.
Getting dubbed up by a 500 App State team should have had your ass packed immediately.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
All right, so he is in the 1s. All right, 2s. I think these are firm 2s right here. Jeff Lebby, I put in the 2s of just the I want to see what happens. And guess what? So does Mississippi State. They gave him a 4-year deal worth $4.5 million annually. Right. They want to see 2.
And I had hesitancy putting him in because it's also like he's a first-year coach, 3-year rule, but it's a lot easier to lose and lose bad at Mississippi State than it is at Texas A&M. And we've seen them get rid of coaches before. Who was the guy that had 1 year?
Arnett,
just recently he got a year and a half. He was an interim, and then they shake-handed him after a year.
So it was like they've done it before. I feel like the job security at Mississippi State might be just a little less.
I think too, it's a benefit that Jeff Lebby is different offensively, and he adds like a little flair to your offense. But if you start losing badly doing that type of play style, it sours very quickly. And I think people are like, get this out of here, because this doesn't feel like football, and especially when you're getting the crap beat into you every single week. Like, nobody wants to watch that if you're getting cute and you're losing.
Yeah, there's nothing redeeming about it like there was with Mike Leach, where the personality's fun and the offense is at least entertaining to watch.
And you're a national topic just because he is.
Yeah.
But I do think Lebby brings a little bit of that where they'll be fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They'll be, as long as it works. Is there a world you envision where Lebby doesn't score points? Because I find that hard to believe.
Not really.
I think he's gonna be a top 50 offense no matter what. Just because he's a really, really good offensive mind. He's been hired as such by really, really good offensive minds. You know what I mean? You go up there and coach under Venables, and you coach under Lane Kiffin. These are guys who, especially Kiffin, if Kiffin's trusting you to call his offense, you're a guy. You're a really good offensive coordinator.
Spend time with Heupel too.
And spend some time with Heupel as well. So yeah, we put Jeff Lebby in here just because, in my opinion, the contract length. They didn't invest 7 years in this guy. They invested 4. They'll have to eat the 4th if they fire him within 3. I put Brett Venables in here, and here's why. We talked about this 2 weeks ago when everybody reported, breaking, Brent Venables 6-year contract extension, Fugazi. Absolute Fugazi. They added 2 years onto the contract. They gave him a $750,000 annual raise. That is I want to be in the news line, letting everybody think we believe in our coach, while also behind the scenes, really, really evaluating that guy. Pay attention closely. Is this our guy? Because if they thought he really was, that would have been through 2031. That would have been a 4-year additional contract extension. That would have been a $2 million contract bonus. That is not what that contract was. That is not what that reestablishment of that contract was, even though it was kind of NBA and NFL contract leakage from agents type of news letting out in that situation.
Yeah, and also, I mean, he's not a new coach anymore. He's going into year 3. You've had the Mulligan first season and kind of the second season. Okay, now we're starting to see where things are going here. I mean, if you have 2 more bad seasons, you could very well be on the way out.
If you're 8-5 2 years in a row, they might get rid of you.
Yeah.
I bet his butthole puckered up a little bit with these new Heisman odds too.
Oh yeah.
Let Dylan Gabriel mess around and win the Heisman this year, or even be in New York this year.
Yeah, let Dylan Gabriel win a Heisman and Jackson Arnold throw 12 interceptions, 15 interceptions, cost him a couple games.
Yeah. Mess around and find out about that.
Yeah. I like Brent in here. Now, our my fourth and final 2. I don't know how you guys are here on this one. I got Marky Stoops in this one.
Yeah, I do too.
Because Stoops himself has flirted with leaving, and Kentucky has flirted with firing him in the last 3 years. So, on top of giving him a contract extension, they really don't know how they feel about Marky Stoops, it seems, up there in Kentucky.
I think you also have to start thinking about the R word when it comes to Mark Stoops' retirement. Not that one. He's 57. He's been at Kentucky since 2013. He's the longest tenured SEC coach now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I also think too,
It's a
like
fact bomb.
You know, I think Mark Stoops gets a lot of praise for what he's done at Kentucky, and rightfully so. Because I mean, Kentucky sucked for a long time. I mean, they rightfully sucked every time. I mean, geez, they were horrible. But he's only won more than 7 games 3 times in 10 seasons, and he finished top 3 in the East 4 times over those 10 seasons. And a lot of those years that he finished in the top 3 is because the rest of the SEC was really figuring things out.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to be a pull back and forth of is Mark Stoops leaving, is Kentucky firing Mark Stoops until he eventually just retires, which
That's
could
a good
be
call.
within the next few seasons.
That's a good call. How old is he?
He's 57.
Ah,
So I mean, he's not old, but he's also
There's
like
nothing to do but get old in Kentucky.
that's true. It's very true.
drink bourbon.
Yeah.
It's very true. All right. Anybody else in the 2s?
I didn't have anyone else.
All right, so a rundown here. These are the guys we think are safe. They're good. They're going to be there the next 3 years. The SEC seems to be a little bit more stable than a lot of these other conferences, I would imagine, if we do this. Sark, Kirby, Kelly, Heupel, DeBoer, Drink, and Freeze were the teams. And Mike Elko. Those are the 8 names we put in this category. All right, the 2s. The let's wait around and see might get ugly, could potentially fire or retire or leave. Jeff Lebby. We put Brent Venables in this. We put Mark Stoops in this 2s. Now, the 3s, the guys that are already cooked, fired, see ya, no chance in hell you last longer than the full 3 years of this little game here. Clark Lee, Shane Beamer, Sam Pittman, Billy Napier.
Tough.
See ya.
It's
Which one of
weird.
those guys is fired first, by the way?
Sam Pittman, I think.
Probably Sam or Billy or Shane.
Pitball's got a bad 5 openers.
Yeah,
It's tough.
Feel for
Open
him,
slate of
but
that. I
It's
do too.
weird when you make this list because it always felt like to me like the last few years the SEC coaching carousel has been so volatile. It's weird to make a list and look at it and go, wow, more than half of the division, half the league has coaches that seem very secure, and even the 2s like Lane Kiffin could be at Ole Miss for a while, Jeff Lebby could be at Mississippi State, Mark Stoops, Brett Venables. I could see like you could convince me all those guys will be there in the next 3 or 4 years. Like the idea that a lot of these coaches are on thin ice is kind of. Or not on thin ice now. It's kind of new, I feel like.
Yeah.
Well, there's just so many guys right now in the SEC that it feels like they're just now breaking through, or they're like about to deliver
the verge.
Right.
Yeah, they're on the verge of punching through the door. Like, I mean, there's a handful of them right now, and if all of them do this year, if all of them have successful seasons this year, then it's like, well, shoot, it feels like the SEC is set up for a long, long time to just be consistent with where they're at.
Yo, Sam Pittman's making $6 million a year right now at Arkansas.
Okay, I don't feel bad for him.
Ching.
I don't feel bad for him for this instance or for this reason. Sam Pittman was a lifer as an offensive line coach. Spent 30 years grinding it out from Kansas community colleges to all the way up to the University of Georgia as the offensive line coach. And then out of nowhere, the school that he spent time at and he's from calls him and says, hey, we want to pay you $6 million a year to be our head coach. And in 4 or 5 years, we're going to fire you. But you get a $40 million severance package as you go off to retire. He's 62 years old.
Yeah, he's...
I don't envision a life, and I could be wrong. I do not envision a world where Sam Pittman is fired by Arkansas and is the next offensive line coach at insert SEC school here. I don't see that happening. I see him looking at that bronze hog he's got in his backyard the rest of his life. And that's great. He's going to have a great ass life. Got a wife that he loves tremendously, and he is a very happy man. I'm sure he'll be more than happy to take the 40 mil or whatever it is and just, sit out by the hog and drink light beer.
Yeah, it also has made it very clear that his life is not consumed by football. Like there's some coaches where you go, what are you going to do after retirement? Sam Pittman talks about he goes to concerts in the offseason, enjoys doing things with his family, so he'll be fine with life after football.
Do a podcast, hit a little buzzed in the evening.
Yeah, I'd watch that.
I'd watch Sam Pittman on ESPN only if he were allowed to drink. It's like he's got a 6-pack there, and by the end of the hour long show, he has to have finished the sixer. I think that would be great television.
That'd be great.
Have you seen this guy on social media where he gets a 24-pack of beer and he drinks it all throughout the day and then he gives you an update throughout? That's what I want Sam Pittman to do with football content. Here's our
Y'all
beer
try
of the
to kill
day,
Sam Pittman.
and we're going to talk football, and then I'll be done when I finish this 12-pack or whatever. And I'll tell you how the beer is, and I'll give you updates on college football.
Rusty Ranks Beers? Is that what that guy's
Something
name is?
like- yeah, something like
Rusty
that.
Ranks Beers. That's, when I got off of TikTok, he was all over my feed. And yeah, and he does a 12-pack, and by the 12th beer, he is
Yes.
trashed. So yeah, that's a good little segment. I would like that with Sammy. But yeah, give him a 24-pack because I think a 12er probably doesn't do much. You think it moves the needle for Sammy?
No, probably not.
Probably not. lifelong drinker. Hey, I forgot to do this earlier in the show, so I want to do this now. Shout out to our friends over at PrizePicks. If you have not already, I got the shirt on today. Head over to PrizePicks.com. Use promo code Brooks. 100% deposit match. What does that mean? You put up to $100, you will instantly get matched in your account with $100 today. I do want to say this while I'm reading this. I love this shirt. Think I look great in it. Don't know what in the hell they were doing on the back of it. What is that?
Yo,
Looks like the
you got a
emoji.
demon.
It's emoji.
Right? It is an emoji. Don't know what they were doing with that one. However, fiending for some PP, baby. Head over to PrizePicks.com. Promo code Brooks, 100% deposit.
You got 3 PrizePicks logos on the screen right now.
We got enough. That's for sure.
Plenty.
I don't think we're getting paid enough for that one, to be honest with you. For 3 logos, the whole entire show?
Yeah.
Might need to tax them a little bit for that one.
You just got to put in some more prize picks and earn some more money.
Is that how that works?
Bro, I'm good, man.
Yeah, too. Still fiending for it. PrizePicks.com, promo code Brooks. Recruiting rankings update. Should we get to it, boys?
Let's do it.
I do want to say, if you miss any portion of tonight's broadcast, you can and will find it available, however, wherever you catch out podcasts. Our podcast numbers aren't strong, and honestly, I think I'm okay with that. I would like them to be better. Do not get me wrong. If you want to support the show, just head over there, watch it, or listen to it, download it, subscribe, leave us a review, do all that stuff. But I want you here. I think we are much more of a visual product than anything else. I think we sound great. The audio's been drastically improved over the years doing this, so the podcast has improved. However, I want you to watch. I want you to show up in the comments. I want you to be here with us while we do this. I think that makes it much, much better for everybody involved, myself included. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, review. All right. Recruiting rankings. I'm going to run them down for you. 1 through 10 right here. Ohio State at 1, Alabama at 2, UGA at 3, Notre Dame at 4, Oregon at 5, LSU 6, TAMU 7. That's Texas A&M for those who don't know abbreviations. Oklahoma at 8, Miami at 9, Penn State at number 10. Okay, all of these football programs are at near or around 20 commits, except for Oregon and LSU, who are sitting here at 15 and still at 5 and 6 respectively in their rankings. Couple of notes I got for you right here. I think Georgia goes up dramatically. Not dramatically. They can't go up too much further. I think they have an opportunity to rise over maybe Bama or Ohio State. They have 19 commits right now. There are some really big names that are still left available, right? We'll talk about it in the local hour. I'm going to do a full kind of class projection for you guys. Not a class projection, a class overview, and give you kind of some additional targets that may end up in this class. And when we get done with that, you're going to realize, oh my God, there are like 8 or 9 names out there that could really, really impact the way Georgia ends up in these rankings. I think Notre Dame ends up tumbling down this list. They already have. Notre Dame's been sitting at 21 commits for quite some time. And at one point, they were the number 1 ranked recruiting class in 2025 just because they had gotten most of their work done. They turned their test in early. Well, they've already fallen down to 4. I think they're going to continue to go down. No 5 stars in the Notre Dame commitment list right now. I think Oregon goes up tremendously by the end of this class as well. Some other notes I got for you. I don't want to burn up all of you guys, but outside the top 10, teams that I think will still make a run. Tennessee's sitting at 15 with room to really improve right here. Listen to some of these names that they may not be leaders for, but I guarantee you they don't whiff on all of these, right? David Sanders, Jared Smith, Josh Petty, Caleb Cunningham, Jamie French. Those are 5 5-stars. Excuse me. Yeah, 5 5-stars that if they land 1 or 2 of those guys, they're going to skyrocket, okay? So there's plenty of room for them to still increase in this list. What notes do you guys have off of this right now?
Texas outside the top 20.
Texas at
with
22.
only 13 commits right now.
That was mine.
It's a little interesting.
That's very interesting.
That and Florida State at 27.
Yeah, Florida State way down there with 10 commits.
Yeesh.
You just say Florida State?
Florida State has 10 commits.
Yeah, Florida State down there at 27. I think this is a byproduct of his kind of model to – he's a half and half guy, Norvell is so far. Half high school, half portal is what it seemed like for him as of late. So what I don't know about, and I think is fugazi, is the whole idea of scholarship limits. Mm-hmm. Like we've kind of – historically, these teams take 25 – or anywhere north of 20 or right at 28, 29 is like the biggest class I've seen in years past. I think somebody, maybe Alabama a couple years, snuck in a 30. But we don't really exceed that. Nowadays the number has kind of dropped, it seems like, because of all the transfer portal additions that have been made to some of these classes. So you don't know what the ultimate size of these schools are going to be, or classes rather, I should say, are going to be. Some other notes I got for you. I don't know if y'all mentioned Florida down there at 67 right now with only 8 commits and a really tough road to hoe moving forward. I kind of cooked Florida fans for this a couple weeks ago. That's a retweet on a breaking news article. I'm like, what? We talked about this with Florida a couple weeks ago where, Florida fans were like, oh, this guy's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. It's only June. How dare you talk about June recruiting? I talk about June recruiting, Bubba, because there's like 70% of the top 100 players in America gone. They're already gone. And most of those guys are gone with NIL kind of incentives and ideas of what they're going to be making at those schools. So, like, you're not only having to flip him, you got to flip his contract. And that's like double hard nowadays, guys. So flipping has become a little bit harder. All right, so that's the first thing. The other thing is, like, buddy, you think 5 and 7 is going to like drastically increase your recruiting abilities? No, it's not going to. You think your coach being on an even further hot seat is going to increase your recruiting abilities? No, it is not. Okay, so that was a note for me. Colorado, the lowest ranked Power 4 school in recruiting, down at 81. No surprise.
Good job.
Coach Prime doing it again.
What's the future? Is his whole idea just I'm gonna recycle this bitch every year? We're not gonna get any better. We just hope to go from 4 and 8 to 5 and 7.
Keep going after Will Shepard's SEC kids that are looking for somewhere else.
It's weird.
How much does Colorado jump if they get Juju? How many spots?
Oh, I mean,
they'd be in the top 50
Juju's
probably.
Been tumbling, guys.
Yeah, he has.
Juju lost his 5th star.
Yeah, but still.
I know. They're going to rock it up just because I think they have like maybe 4 or 5 high school commits right now.
Yeah.
So he's going to dramatically improve that ranking. I don't know. He's Deion Sanders. He should be able to recruit. And if you have any, aspirations of actually being there for an extended period of time, like you say every time you're in front of a microphone, I got plans to plant roots here. We're going to make Colorado great. I'm going to be here. I don't follow my kids. I'm a father, not a daddy, I think is what he said. I'm a leader, not a follower. I ain't following my kids to the NFL. I'm staying right here in Boulder. Buddy, if that's the case, you need to get on the high school recruiting trail, because you're obviously not just going to be able to turn it over every single year with guys that had a great season last year at Memphis. Okay, that's just not the way that national championships have been won. That's just not it.
Can we maybe entertain the idea that Deion Sanders isn't a good recruiter?
I don't believe that to be true. I don't think he tries.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, the other thing is this. Like, Deion Sanders, yes, absolutely is a great personality. He's one of the greatest college football and NFL football players to ever do it. The name itself brings a lot of... it's a high demand name, obviously. We all know Deion Sanders. But when it gets into the X's and O's of recruiting, like, you'd have to imagine that other schools are able to out-recruit a guy that has never really had to be in, like, he was thrusted into a head coaching job. Now, granted, he did Jackson State. He was a high school coach for a while, but, like, he's never really dealt with...
See, that's the thing, though. He recruited well at Jackson State.
You got Travis Hunter for crying out loud.
He recruited really well at Jackson State.
The name did that for him, and now that you're playing...
He still got the name?
Yeah, but I don't know.
That's why I think, like, he just doesn't want to.
He doesn't want to.
I agree with that. I think that's also part of it.
The problem is nothing in the history of college football, even the last 3 or 4 years, nothing tells you can take 25 portal guys and go win a championship. Nothing. Mel Tucker's the biggest success story of it. He went 9-3 because he had a damn Heisman Trophy caliber running back there that he gave 35 totes a game and a relatively decent defense. That's it. That's the only guy. And he only did it 50%. Deion's out here turning it over at an 80% clip seemingly every year. You cannot do that. I don't believe it's a process to win. So
I agree
with you on that.
All right. I think that's our national hour.
No, we got DJU.
Oh, yeah. Right here.
And Gundy.
Huh?
And Gundy.
Oh, yeah, Mike Gundy. All right, this is PR 101. Obviously, DJ Uiagalelei has transferred down to Florida State. And obviously, having been a member of the Clemson Tigers, DJ is obviously a guy that people in the media want to talk to. Okay, so being at an ACC school, he was obviously invited to be at the ACC kickoff, the media days coming up this week. And this is his post he put out today. And I think, again, this is PR 101, baby. This is Ain't nobody going to have a bad thing to say about you today, DJ. This is a great, great post right here that I would imagine Florida State might have concocted for him. Quote, I was honored to be invited by the conference to represent Florida State at this year's ACC kickoff. The experience of attending that event in 2021 and 2022 is among the highlights of my time in college, and I appreciate being viewed as one of the conference's top players heading into this season. However, I feel strongly that Florida State should be represented by players who were part of last year's ACC championship team. The players who helped put this program back on top of the ACC should have the opportunity to be recognized for their contributions. This team is more than its quarterback, and I'm excited for teammates who will experience this fantastic event. That right there, the last part is what made me think this team is bigger than its quarterback. That part was what made me think, oh, this is another stab back at the Travis stuff, the Jordan Travis stuff.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm just so tired of us acting like the 2023 Florida State team was like the most egregious snub of all time.
I mean, what's worse?
It was bad. It was very bad. But can we stop bellyaching?
Is there a bigger snub?
TCU in 2014 is pretty bad.
But didn't they get thumped in the Rose Bowl?
No, they lost. No, they beat the shit out of. Or yes, they did. But I mean, Florida State lost by 60.
You're right. Florida State did too.
Florida State had the worst bowl loss of all time. I just.
Chat says UCF for the 2020s.
UCF 2017.
Big time snub. Big snub.
It's just, I'm tired of it. But no, it's a great PR move by him.
Yeah, it's tremendous.
Good stuff, right?
Very good way to win over Florida State fans as well for a guy who.
Dude, I saw national media members jumping on this. Like, my God, what a great, just props to DJ. Props to DJ.
Is this the first opt-out we've had of media days?
Yeah, for sure. Is he the guy?
I don't know. I mean, it seems like it. Something like that.
I don't know, He's not. I don't think so either. What if DJU comes out first 3 or 4 games and just like looks like hot garbage juice?
What if DJU
Luke Romano, get your butt in there.
What if he opts out of the 2020 season? He's like, guys, listen, the 2023 quarterbacks need time to shine. This isn't my team. I'm going to take a step back.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Just because he couldn't win the job.
That would be PR 10-10 instead of 1-on-1.
I'm going to focus on the draft now.
Yeah, focus on the draft. Now, that was PR 101. That's just great job, Bubba. You said the right thing. You tweeted out the right graphic. Now, Mike Gundy. Not so much. For those of you who don't know, Ollie Gordon got a DUI. He blew a .104 or something like that out there in Oklahoma.
That's a lot.
Was arrested, was charged with DUI, is going to face some type of punishment, even though he's not. He's not going to face any type of punishment because Mike Gundy was asked about it today. Hey, is Ollie Gordon going to face any type of punishment? And Mike Gundy responded with, yeah, the only type of punishment he's going to get is 50 totes in the first football game. Love it. Love it. 50 totes. I'm hammering the over on PrizePicks when we get to Ollie Gordon first week of the season. Because apparently his punishment is just an extra workload.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Absolutely insane.
That's not the craziest comment he had, though.
It was not. The craziest comment Mike Gundy had was that he says, I get the phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning. Ollie Gordon's been arrested. So I started doing some research. Legal limit, .80. As if he didn't know that. Legal limit, .80. Ollie blew a .104. And he said, I did some research that said if you're bigger, your tolerance is higher. So, yeah, legal limit's .8. But, I mean, he wasn't hammered. Couple 4 or 5 beers. I mean, I've driven home on 4 or 5 beers 1,000 times in my life. Buddy, just stop. Just stop. This is not the thing you say. Now, granted.
That's nearly 3 years.
Excuse me, .08. Not.
Point eight.
Y'all get what I'm saying.
That's nearly 3 years straight of drunk driving.
The idea that you thought it was a good idea to tell people that you've driven home after 4 or 5 beers 1,000 times is not a good idea. However, had you just said, all of us do it, or all of us have done it, or we've all been in that situation, that goes over a whole hell of a lot smoother than I've done it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Mike Gundy, king of the booze cruise.
Amen. The fact that Mike Gundy has a flawless record after doing this thousands of times, That's impressive.
The fact that Mike Gundy he's got to be 55 now. I mean, I'm a man. I'm 40. It's like 15 years ago. The fact that Mike Gundy's 55 years old and didn't realize that the legal limit was .08.
Yeah, the fact that he had to Google it, and the fact that he was doing mental gymnastics about how big his running back was, so he probably wasn't that hammered.
Yeah, he's probably.
Shit. Who ain't played around a golf and driven home? You know what I mean?
I just know that the first game they lose this season, Twitter is going to have an absolute field day.
Twitter's having a field day already.
He's slamming a 12-pack in the...
Oklahoma State fans were having a field day on Twitter. I saw someone that literally tweeted it as he said it, and it said, well, this is going to go viral. And sure as shit it did. Like the chat says, sometimes there is such a thing as being too honest. I see Smooth got in a Georgia joke there. That's classic. Good stuff for you. All right, speaking of Georgia, we got a whole local hour coming up right now.
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape.
Shit. All righty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for another hour of tremendous college football talk right here on the Film Guy Network. I'm Brooks Austin. That's my boy Christian Kirby and Dr. J. Will, also known as Jonathan Williams. I feel like I never give our names. So for those who watch us, they're like, who are these guys? I like them. I'm Brooks. Nice to meet you. All right. Got a loaded show here on the local hour for you. We're going to give a 2025 class in review. Carson Beck thought about it. We're going to talk about what he thought about tonight. Another crazy Carson Beck stat. Mikel Williams getting a little bit more love from the NFL media. Spoke to a person who wrote an article about him today. Excited to give you that news. And, of course, we have a player of the day. But we are going to spend majority of tonight's local hour talking about this class. Who's your recruiting service you guys prefer? Because I'm a 24/7 consensus guy. It's just my habit.
I just like 24/7 for the composite.
Yeah.
That's what I like.
I think On 3 got a little bit too many bells and whistles.
Yeah.
I think Rivals, and I would never, ever ESPN. Ever.
No.
So there's that. That's kind of how I would rank them. I would go 24/7, On 3, Rivals, ESPN. Down here. Anyways, let's talk about this right now. There's 19 commits in this class right now. I have 3 categories of football players I want to talk about today. I have starred, what I call UGA NIL takes. These are kids in state with traits or tape that love Georgia. These are diehard Georgia guys. You hope they never leave unless you ask them to. And then potential my guys. We got a couple candidates of those tonight. And wife scouts. I've already labeled some of these wife scouts that are very, very obvious. Where should we start tonight, boys? The UGA NIL takes, the potential my guys, or the wife scouts?
Let's do wife scouts.
All right, wife scouts. Real simple and easy right now. Zayden Walker, Isaiah Gibson, Elias Williams. I think they are as bona fide 5 stars as bona fide 5 stars can be. I would have had questions about Zayden Walker's transition from stand-up outside linebacker to inside linebacker had I not gone and seen it. And I went and saw it. No questions asked. He is a wife scout. Okay. All right. Potential my guys or UGA NIL takes next.
We get an early taste on the my guys.
We got some potential candidates.
Okay.
We still got to see some senior tape though.
Let's see it.
All right, we got candidates right here. Lowest ranked candidate so far, Jalen Morgan. We watched that tape last night. I love that tape. I love the explosivity that he has. I love the power in the pads. I love the fluidity that we saw on tape. I love that he knows he ain't one of these traitsy guys. I love that. I love that you talk like that already at 17, 18 years old, that you know you have to overcome some things that other guys were blessed with. And by the way, you're still pretty blessed. Like, you're not a bad athlete. You're just not a 1%er, and that's okay. My other potential, my guy, Todd Robinson. I just love this kid. I love him for a variety of reasons. It's very rare you see high school quarterbacks that you know are tough. Like, you just know are tough as shit. And he's not going to play quarterback in high school, or in college. So it's a great thing that we know he's tough. But there's just so much about the physical package of this football player and the location of where he's coming from and the program that he's coming from in Valdosta that I just trust so much about the eval that I just don't think there's any way he's going to be a bad player in college. So he is a candidate for me for sure. At about, I think he measured it 6'1", 205 pounds, ran 4.48, and had 23 miles per hour in his catapult at the University of Georgia this summer. We good. Okay. I believe he's going to play either safety or star at the University of Georgia. So he is a potential my guy candidate. And another candidate I'm watching closely. I don't feel as strongly as I do about Todd Robinson. He's kind of in that Jalen Morgan. Going to have to find out. Talon Taylor, the wide receiver at Illinois. I think he's really, really good. I do also think he lacks some physical 1% traits, and that's okay. If he is buddy from Michigan.
Oh,
Roman Wilson. If he is Roman Wilson, that's a hit. You'll take that at the University of Georgia. If he's an 800-yard receiver, that's a my guy, and we're good with that. So there's that. Now, this last category on these commitments that I want to notify, and I feel like since name, image, and likeness has become a real player, and by the way, it's going to become a bigger player now more than ever as sanctions approach. We talked about this last night to an extent. We got regulation coming, guys. House versus NCAA is going to be settled. It already is preemptively settled. It will be fully settled before the season even starts. By 2025, I would imagine we have regulation. So what does that mean? That means over the next 12 to 15 months, teams that are NIL based, meaning I'm going to buy commits from great players, those teams are going to be out here throwing money at a higher rate than ever before because they know the faucet's going to be cut off relatively soon. Your ability to just willy-nilly offer somebody legally $1.5 million to come be insert school here, okay, it ain't happening in about 12 months, okay? So I would imagine over the next year, we're going to see bigger bags than ever thrown at some of these football players, which means if you're the state of Georgia or if you're the University of Georgia and you have in-state products like you have got to prioritize in-state takes because the history of transfer portal will tell us that you're either leaving for money or you're leaving to go back closer to home. So what do? We take a bunch of in-state guys that we think will fit our program. Okay, I got a list of these guys right here. Bo Walker is the definition of it. He doesn't have a Georgia trait. He has Georgia tapes, though. He has Georgia tape. He about a 4.58 runner, I think. Okay, some short area quickness. About 5'9", about 200 pounds. He is not Cedric Baxter. He is not Justice Haynes. He is not insert 5-star Reuben Owens. He is not these guys, okay? However, he's got tape that matches some of those guys to an extent and loves Georgia. We'll take him. Thomas Blackshear. I've heard George Pickens named with this kid so often for a variety of reasons. The playmaking ability, the body control, the 4'8", 4'5"-ish runner, right? All of these things that's in a 6'1.5", 6'2", 200-pound frame. Also, there's some attitude. Plays wide receiver with an attitude. We'll call it that. Okay? So I take him. Calvary Day wants to come to Georgia? Come on with it. So that's one of those. Dontrell Glover, prime example of this. Kid in state, an absolute dog on the field, okay, plays with a little bit of nasty to him, and loves Georgia. Take the kid. Absolutely take the kid. Landon Roldan, the kid from North Oconee, I mean, we've seen 1,000 times take a shot, Lad McConkey, okay? Yeah, it's what they're doing. They saw a 4.38 guy that had no real, Power 5 interest. They took him. It's the definition of what they've done in years past. Who else we got here? Mason Short. Augusta, come on. You're going to be a dog the rest of your life, Mason Short. Whoever the next Mason Short is, you're probably going to be a dog too. This is a Jamal Merriweather take for me. The kid from Brunswick a couple years ago, it's like, he can either go to Texas A&M or he can go to Kentucky, or we can just take him. Well, we'll just take him. Let's just do that. So I look at him that way. I look at Christian Garrett the same way. Christian Garrett is going to come into a class that looks like Isaiah Gibson and maybe probably Justice Terry, Elijah Griffin, probably, right? And Christian Garrett is not going to be anywhere near as quote unquote talented or as high profile as those football players. But guess what? He's from Bogart County. He went to Prince Avenue Christian. That dude wanted his whole life probably to play at the University of Georgia. Now he's going to get an opportunity to do so. This is Justin Green from last class. You take these guys. You take them every single time if you can get them. Todd Robinson, we talked about him as well. That's an in-state take. I love that they do this. I don't know if other schools, matter of fact, I know that other schools don't have the ability to do this because their in-state products are not as pristine as the University of Georgia's. But I love that they do this because I think it's why their retention rate's as high as it is. Not only the cultural buy-in and all that good stuff, but they have prioritized in-state kids because of this, where, a couple years ago, I think the Keely Ringo class, they signed 17 kids from out of state. Majority of their class is from California, Texas, Arizona, Northern California, freaking kid from Rhode Island. It's like all over the place. Now, they're kind of doing a little bit of balance of both.
What do you think led to that change? Was it just Georgia said, hey, we need to really start hammering down the in-state prospects, or they started evaluating them differently and were more attracted to certain ones this class? Or
two things: 100% transfer portal, 100% NIL. Those two changes in college football made Georgia realize, okay, maybe we stop chasing the Jamie Frenches of the world and we take a Roldan, because chasing Jamie French forever might cost us the Roldan kid, right? I just think the proximity to talent in this state and the idea that maybe you could pay less to get a kid to come here as opposed to what USC or Texas might have to pay him to come out of state, that helps as well, right? You're more willing to pay to be making, let's just throw a number out there, $100,000 at the University of Georgia instead of $250 at Texas because, well, mom and dad want to come see me play. So are mom and dad going to pick up and move to Texas? Maybe. We got enough money to do so now. Well, there goes all of my NIL money, making sure mom and dad got a place to live out here in Texas. You see what I'm saying? There are cheaper ways of going about it if you recruit in-state kids. And the transfer portal, they have statistics at Georgia that I would assume tell them that majority of kids that transfer go closer to home. Take Jamon Dumas-Johnson, for example. I believe the closest SEC school to the DMV is Kentucky, right? Mm-hmm. That's a kid from Maryland.
Yeah.
Kentucky's probably the closest school to him in the SEC. There you go. Tyler Williams transferred to Minnesota. Why? He's from Florida. He's got family in Minnesota. So the proximity to family and the proximity to home impacts these decisions when kids decide to leave. Any idea or any comments, questions, concerns about any of those three categories: the UGA, NIL takes, potential my guys, or wife scouts?
Where'd you have Ethan Barber on that? I forgot.
All right. I love Ethan Barber's hand strength. I love Ethan Barber's general natural. He's got natural hands. I talked about this with him. I can't remember when I said this or who I said this to. It's one of those things. Ethan is one of the very few prospects. I don't think Georgia signed one like this since George Pickens that has the combination of really strong hands, meaning the moment the ball has been caught, you are not separating that out. I don't care how hard you swipe down. I don't care how hard you peanut Tillman punch. I don't care what it is. That ball is not leaving that kid's hands. But strong hands paired with soft hands is very rare. This guy had it. Larry Fitz had it. You will never hear a ball hit Larry Fitzgerald's fingers. You won't. Like most kids, you throw a ball to them, you can hear the ball hit their hands. You won't hear that at Larry. It's silent. It's just like his hands just naturally absorb the energy of the football as if he was born to do that. Ethan's that type of guy. Here's my concerns. Here's why he's not a wife scout. Here's why he's not a my guy. Here's all these things. Okay. He's 6'3". Mm-hmm. He's 230 pounds. He's a 4.75 runner. There's not a lot of elite 5-star wife scout traits in that frame, except for the hands and just the general catching ability. Okay, so I worry about the ability to separate in college. I also worry about the length. There's not a ton of it. However, he makes contested catches at a rate that most guys his size don't. So maybe there are ways that he overcomes this. I just have a hard time projecting him to be Jaheim Bell or projecting him to be one of these 6'3", really, really good H-type tight ends, even though Todd sees it. And so Todd Hartley sees a lot more of these guys than I do. Todd Hartley knows a lot more than I do. Here's what I will tell you. That kid's going to compete his ass off. He's going to talk a lot of shit while doing so. And I think that room needed a little bit of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, definitely you want to always have at least that one dog in the room. I know we talked about how KJ Bolden kind of did this to the safety room this offseason.
Put that dog in him.
Yeah. So it's good for that. I do think the size is probably going to become an issue. It's not ideal, but I don't think he's extremely undersized. Like the 6'3" is not horrible for a tight end.
I mean,
Brock Bowers was what, 6'4"?
Yeah.
So
6'4" at the combine.
No, I mean an inch matters, but
All right, let's talk about potential additions to this class. Okay, I'm just going to run them down. Now, I don't think you lead for all of these guys. Maybe I'll just give you an indication of who I believe you do. All right, CJ Wiley's still on the board, right? You're going to have to flip him from Florida State. I don't think that's going to be as hard as it was with KJ last year. KJ loved Florida State. KJ grew up dreaming about Florida State. KJ grew up, I believe, in the state of Florida for some time before he came up to the state of Georgia. So in his middle 10, 11, 12 teens years, right? It's not going to be as hard, I don't believe, especially based off the lack of certainty, to say the least, that CJ had during his commitment day. So I think that's first and foremost, flip that guy. After that, the names are the names. Justice Terry, Elijah Griffin, Juan Gaston. I feel really good about all three football players. I think all three should be on the verge of 5-star. I think Juan Gaston's the closest thing to a surefire, that guy's going to play on Sunday, first round type of football player at the tackle position the state of Georgia has seen since Amarius Mims. We haven't had one of these guys, all right, in the last couple of classes that I can stamp him. I know for a fact that guy's going to be a great college player and he'll probably go on to an NFL career. It just hadn't been that. I can't remember who the highest rated kid in the state was at the offensive line position last year. I would imagine Georgia didn't take an in-state kid last year, did they? Malachi Tolliver, that was it, at the offensive line position.
Oh, yeah.
The rest of the guys were out of state. That's a byproduct of what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is the first blue chipper, in my opinion, we've seen in the state at the tackle position. I think because of that, Kirby Smart's not letting that guy go anywhere else. There's just no way. So I would put Georgia in there. I was asked in the comments about a potential additional wide receiver. I already have 4 wide receiver commitments. Derek Meadows commits this weekend. If you want to know where Georgia stands, I put out a nug on patreon.com/Brooks Austin just about an hour ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
So head over there. That's important to read because he's committing in 4 days. And I don't think the narrative around that one has been exactly accurate, at least based off what I've been told. So there's that. Other wide receivers to pay attention to. Cameron Sparks, kid out of Tennessee, is a name to know. Travis Smith Jr., I was asked about him in the chat earlier. I don't think that one's Georgia. I don't. I thought for a while it was going to be Georgia. I think some different things have come into play. And we don't even have to do the NIL stuff. We can do it this way. We want you here. We got to have you here. Those are 2 different conversations.
Right.
I think Georgia has had we want you here, we like you. I think other schools like Tennessee and especially Auburn and maybe even Alabama have looked at this recruitment as, hey, we've got to have you. We will approach this recruitment as thus. The only we got to have you recruitment that I've felt that Georgia has really approached that way at the wide receiver position this year has been CJ Wiley, and they will continue to push for that one as the class continues. Let's go on with this. Cortez Smith will make his announcement July 20th. I feel really good about where Georgia stands with that one. That's the first offensive center prospect that Georgia has signed. I wouldn't even count Griffin Scroggs.
Yeah.
I don't do that. Since Cedric Van Pran, they've been tackle based. We'll convert everybody in. We'll teach you how to snap type of recruitment processes since. Cortez Smith is a plug and play. Maybe even like same with Cedric, where you question whether or not he can play other things. He's played center so long. Like that is his spot. That's where he feels most comfortable. Christian Gass, linebacker out of Eastside High School, we've talked a little bit about on this channel. I feel good about Georgia's chances there. Lagonza Hayward is a prospect that is still on the fringe. I don't know if that's Georgia right now. I think Lagonza Hayward is probably a coin toss between South Carolina and Tennessee, it seems, or at least it feels like right now. Tennessee, the program that was first and foremost in that recruitment for a kid out of Toombs County that just didn't really have a lot of options before last fall. And now he's got every option in the world. And it's hard. It's hard to make that decision when you thought you were going to Mercer And now all of a sudden, Georgia's banging down your door, fighting with Tennessee and fighting with South Carolina. South Carolina got in the mix really, really heavy after his official visit up there. They did something. Shane Beamer and that group did something. He came back from that visit blown away. So there's that. Nick Brooks, another tackle prospect out of Iowa, that is a possibility. I just don't know. I know Nick Brooks likes Georgia. I don't know if Nick Brooks knows what's coming. In terms of, I don't think Nick Brooks understands, and maybe he does. I could be totally wrong. I don't think Nick Brooks understands the numbers that are going to get thrown at him in October. So we'll just wait. We'll have to wait on that one. So those are the potential additions, boys. And if they go, 5 out of 7, what was that? It was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 names. If they land 7 of those kids, making them have 26 commits in this class, call it a day. You're good.
Right. Yeah. Going back to the Laganza Hayward one, it seems like if just operate on the assumption that it's either Tennessee or South Carolina. Once he commits, is that one that you're able to flip, or is that kind of just you're out on that one once he commits?
Nah, you're dotted line. You're a dotted line recruiting program at the University of Georgia. You do not give up until the dotted line is signed. They don't believe that. They don't believe commitments or anything.
Right. Because we literally just saw them do it with Shamari Earl. So it's like, if South Carolina does land this guy or Tennessee, you could. It's not the end of that race necessarily.
Yeah, you can't. We continue to emphasize it, but I do feel like it is so important. So much can happen in a football season. So much can happen in a football season.
There's a possibility that he commits to South Carolina and Shane Beamer's not there by the 5th week.
So. There's, like I said, so many different things can happen between now and even December.
I thought you were about to say something.
No. I'm looking. I think there's going to be. I was thinking about Jaden Perlotti, and without, again, June 17th on Patreon.com. Guys, pay the $10. Just do it. Okay, it's worth it. I was thinking about Jaden Perlotti, and I started thinking about how, I think there is some hesitancy across all of college football right now about signing kids or getting kids committed too early, before we have real conversations or before you have conversations with other people. Because you might think you want to be a Georgia Bulldog until Miami puts $750,000 in front of your face, or until Tennessee puts $600,000 in front of your face, or until you go out and take a flight to LA. And now all of a sudden you're calling me saying, hey, so-and-so offered such and such, or man, I want to go on an official visit here, or I'm shopping here, I'm going here, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Yeah, I'll come see you guys in a couple weeks. I don't know if that's going to fly anymore. I don't think they want to do that anymore. I think if they're going to take a kid as a rising junior, if they're going to take a commitment from that kid, he better be locked the F in, or he better be a 5-star. He better be we'll take you at any point and we'll hope to hold on to you, like Jared Curtis. You notice he's the only commit in 2026. I promise you on everything I love, he is not the only 2026 recruit that has called and said, I am committed to the University of Georgia. He is not, okay? He is the only one publicly committed, and that is by design, because I don't think they want these guys in early anymore. There's no point in it. There's so much of a moving target and so much of a moving budget now in college football that it doesn't behoove you to get kids into your class early. It behooves you to get them in at the end.
Did this happen as a result of NIL, or is that before?
No, this is the direct result of NIL. This is a direct result of NIL. Your recruitment is not even close to done until you have NIL discussions with the schools that you're being recruited by. I don't want to hear nothing about, I love my visit, it was great. That's just the living aspect of where you're at. Right, that's the football aspect of where you're at. Classes, practice. Do I like the environment? Do I like the culture? And then there's this whole other side that is business related. And the business is really, really big nowadays in college football. And I just told you, it's going to get bigger before it gets smaller. Okay, it's definitely going to get the money pool for these over the next 12 months is going to be drastically increased. So there's that.
Do you think it necessarily dies down once we get a revenue split coming in?
I've already said what I think is going to happen. Okay, and I've talked with several college football coaches about this, and they all agree based off how they view it as well. Right now, we have this pay-for-play system where unless you're football-based and you're meaning you're a business related base or a business based decision maker in this instance, we are in pay for play, which means everybody's just paying as much as they can to get a kid, right? So-and-so, 5-star tackle, here's $650,000 annually for the next 4 years. We got to get you here. Make sure it happens. And kids are going to some of the top dollar schools right now. You're seeing that happen. Well, when revenue splits come and some type of regulation happens, I think we're going to return to the old system. You're going to sign a piece of paper that says, I'm committed to the University of Georgia. That letter of intent that you hand in to the NCAA clearinghouse will be in exchange for X amount of dollars in, exchange for your name, image, and likeness. You will essentially get a set salary, I will imagine, right? Whether it's $150,000, whether it's $250,000, I don't know. I would highly doubt there's going to be a sliding scale, though. I think it's going to be a flat rate fee for every single individual. And then on top of that, yes, there's still going to be NIL, but there are rumors that it's actually going to be regulated, which means you can't just get money from a collective, or you can't just get money from a booster that just wants to give you money. There actually is going to have to be an exchange of goods, or maybe a return on an investment, or some type of marketing behind your actual name, image, and likeness. I'm not just going to be able to give you $100,000 because you play at Georgia. I'm going to have to give you $100,000 because, you're getting 20 from, what's the clothing brand?
Which
Onward
one?
Reserve.
Onward Reserve. You're getting 20 from Onward Reserve. You're getting 20 from Zaxby's. You're getting 25 from the collective, and you're getting 25 over here, right? It's going to have to be an amalgamation of real income coming in, I would imagine. That's what I'm foreseeing coming down. So how are you going to go about, doing the pay for play? Because I'm going to tell you right now, it ain't going to stop, right? 5 stars aren't going to stop getting influenced by now bags of cash. That's how it was back in the day, right? I couldn't give you a monthly stipend and say, hey, when you come to Georgia, or when you come to Alabama, or when you come to Tennessee, we're going to give you $50,000 a month. That's how it's working now. You couldn't do that shit before NIL. That was illegal. So what did they do? Well, 5 stars getting ready to commit in a week. All right, Johnny, go up there, drive, don't fly. Drive up there with $100,000 in cash and put that shit on his doorsteps and see what happens. Bag dropping. That's where we're going. We're going right back to it, ladies and gentlemen. You watch. 5 stars will get bought last minute. Cash advancements. That's where we're going right back to it. It's so obvious, to me at least. Do you see it the same way?
Sounds to me like Jeremy Pruitt's going to have a job soon.
Brian Niedermeyer needs a job. Brian Niedermeyer got the stick on that one.
Yeah.
So does Shelton Felton. That was ass. I hate how that happens. I hate how the assistant coach that, I don't know if y'all probably don't even know Brian Niedermeyer. Y'all don't, but I do. Brian Niedermeyer was a guy who slept in his car for 3 years to be a graduate assistant in Tuscaloosa under Nick Saban. He did such a good job that when Jeremy Pruitt left and went to Tennessee, they hired that joker as a tight ends coach. Within 18 months, he's the director of recruiting and he's the linebackers coach now all of a sudden. What? Why? How? Because he's a lunatic. He works his ass off. But he was told over and over again, you have to do these things. And guess what? It was par for the course everywhere they went. Everywhere before NIL, pay for play was a real thing. Cash advancements was a real thing. At every SEC school, at every major Big Ten school, at every major Big 12 school, at every major Pac-12 school, cash was being dropped. If you don't believe it, you're ignorant. Okay? And Niedermeyer was the guy. Niedermeyer was the guy that had to go all do this shit. Yeah, coach, I'll do it for you. Yeah. 4 years ago, I was coaching community college. Guess who's got a 7-year show cause order and probably will never, maybe not never, but might not ever get back into college football coaching again? Brian Niedermeyer. And it's a shame because all he was doing was what everyone else was doing under a guy who's doing it a little bit worse. So I wish they would just lay that shit on the head coach because they know where it comes down for. They know it's a trickle-down effect. If you don't believe that college football coaches are dictators, then you just ain't been paying attention to college football.
That was a good rant.
Off the cuff.
It was.
Sometimes it's best that way. All right. Carson Beck thought about transferring. Did you guys know this?
I mean, I didn't know it specifically or explicitly that he did, but I'm not surprised by it.
Yeah, you just have to assume nowadays that somebody's thinking about it,
I mean, you're a highly touted prospect to sit on the bench for 3 seasons.
Absolutely. So he was asked about it at the Manning Academy, and he said, quote, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'd love to sit here and say that I never thought about it. It's human nature. Like, you don't get what you want, you're going to go somewhere else. But for me to stay in that mindset and that mode of life, like, okay, I'm going to stick this out. I'm going to stay in this offense. I'm going to learn this system. I'm going to be comfortable comfortable in it, and then once I get my chance, I'm going to show my abilities. That's exactly what he did. But man, is it rare? Is it rare for that to happen?
Do you think, say Carson Beck is what we think he is this year, he's the number one pick, he's the Heisman winner, he makes $30 million this time at the NFL draft in 2025, does that kind of change the trend of these quarterbacks where it's, all right, I'm not starting after year one, I'm going to go elsewhere? Because you see a guy like Carson Beck who, like he just said, stayed in the system, learned it, stayed loyal to the program, and now it paid off for him to the tune of $30 million, number one overall pick. I mean, that's the dream of what you want to be as a college player. Do you think that kind of sways other players to not necessarily be so quick to pull the trigger?
You just took the next 5 minutes of what I'm going to talk about. Here we go.
Sorry.
You're on the right path. There are a tremendous amount of reasons to play at Georgia, a quarterback at Georgia, right? A bunch of reasons. There's talent all around you. There's coaching continuity. I mean, how many programs in this country do you know for a fact the offensive coordinator and the head coach are going to be there for an extended period of time? You can't name me 7. You really can't. Maybe Utah. That's about it. Georgia and Utah. That's it. And maybe the head coach retires in the next 3 years up at Utah. So maybe it's not even Utah. It's just Georgia. And DeBoer. DeBoer doesn't seem like he's going to fire any of his guys. He's been riding with them dudes for a decade now. So I don't think DeBoer is going to get rid of any of these guys. So there's some continuity at Georgia that is very rare at other places. Obviously, there's a chance to win. Winning's important for a lot of these football players. And the platform. You wear that G on your chest, your national televised football games, all that good stuff. But this, what you're talking about, in my opinion, is the biggest reason to go play quarterback at Georgia. And here's what I'm talking about. The Carson Beck story is what he is. Set for 3 years, came out, completed 70% of his balls, was like 5th in the Heisman race, damn near played for college football playoff in his first year starting. Seems to be the number one overall pick. Will ultimately on that path if he ends up doing it. But if Gunnar Stockton does the same exact thing, if Gunnar Stockton sits for 3 years and then comes out, starts for 2, and looks like he has developed and looks like he has become an SEC starter and looks like he may have potential to be an NFL quarterback, then that right there says that Georgia can say something that nobody else can. Georgia can verifiably say that if you play quarterback at Georgia, you can develop without playing time. You hit the nail on the head. Every single one of these kids leaves because they don't start in year one, or they don't see a pathway to starting, or they don't see a pathway to starting in 2 years, or, well, maybe my 3rd year, I'm still sitting, so I definitely need to get out of here. My clock is ticking. I need 2 years of starting. That ain't happening at Georgia. Now, Brock Vandagriff had to leave because he wasn't going to get 2 years of starting, right? He was going to have to sit another year behind Beck, and then that's 4, and then was going to get 1 year as a starter, as a redshirt senior. And the odds of you being drafted highly after 12, 13 games of starting experience are just, they're rail thin. It just doesn't happen very often. And the ones that do happen for, they ain't really hitting right now in the NFL. We've talked about that ad nauseum on this channel. So this is a very, very strong recruiting point, assuming that Gunnar hits it. Because I can't just apply Carson did it so everybody can do it.
Right.
Read those quotes we gave you early. Carson's a little bit different, right? Mentally. He thinks about football differently. He processes football differently. His brain goes through reads and keys very much differently. His technique is so solid that it if ever rarely, fails him on Saturdays. Those are very unique traits to Carson that you just can't apply everywhere else. However, if Gunnar comes out and looks like that, or if Gunnar comes out and wins 11 or 12 games and looks like an SEC bona fide starter after having sat in the closet for 3 years, man, what a recruiting boost. What an ability to walk out to every kid and say, hey, playing time's not required here. Playing time is not required here.
Yeah, I mean, we always talk about, or a lot of the fans really like to fixate on, well, we already have a 5-star on our bench. Is that going to scare away any other future 5-stars coming? Well, not when you can tell them that. You don't even have to worry about who's in front of you, because if you just give us 3 years, we'll get you where you need to be, and we'll have you in a better position than you would be probably playing anywhere else.
Also, there's not a college football program in the country that has more NFL scouts at it on a day-to-day basis than Georgia. I mean, maybe this year Ohio State, maybe NFL scouts go through Columbus a little bit, or as frequently as they do in Athens. But they live in Athens. They're there every day. This is how I know this. NFL scouts that I talk about already know about Ryan Puglisi. The guy ain't even played in a G-Day game yet. You know how they know about him? They went to practice. They watched that kid spin it for 30 minutes. And they're like, well, shit, I better pay attention. They did the same thing with Carson. They've done the same thing with Dylan Bell. All right, all of these guys at Georgia that get like early NFL draft buzz out of nowhere. I think Dylan Bell's career high in receiving yards is like 350 yards.
356.
That's pretty good. Pretty good by both of us right there. For you to hit that and me to be on the nose within 6 yards. That's pretty good. Anyway, either way, this is very unique to Georgia where you can get exposure without ever having played.
And it's going to be kind of funny where, say, Gunnar Stockton does do everything we expect him to. That's going to be 3 years from now necessarily. This year with Carson Beck and then 2 years with Gunnar. The kind of negative knock on Georgia has been, they can't develop quarterback talent. To very quickly kill that idea in 2 quarterbacks is going to be very funny to watch. Now, you could say Stetson Bennett did kind of kill that, to go from a walk-on to 2-time national champion, Heisman Trophy finalist, but people still look at the draft board and go, he was a 4th-round pick. He wasn't actually that good.
And that was even a different story, though, than what this is, because Stetson developed through playing time.
Correct.
Through every week, every time that he got a start, it felt like he was progressing, taking steps forward, where Carson Beck is in this discussion of what Brooks is saying of, this was done behind closed doors, and he came out and he did this. So you have both ends of the spectrum now.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to think that. I mean, obviously he's not a finished product. He wasn't last year, but he was pretty damn close to it by the time he took his first snaps as a starting quarterback. Now, he had played in some in 2022 and 2021, but to be as starter ready and game ready as he was in that first year he started was very impressive. And it's a testament to Georgia's coaching. And I think that's probably what leads to the high expectations he's got this season.
I want to go back to this quote he had. And as far as football goes, I mean, it's just trying to be consistent, just working on the same things week in and week out, throwing on the run, deep ball, and quick game. He knows. You know what I mean? He knows where he's wrong. He knows where he's coming up short. I don't think the throwing on the run was a problem last year. I think it was the only negative anybody could ever find was the deep ball accuracy. And that will improve. I think that was a little half and half too, though. I think I could go back and look at some of those, incomplete deep balls and say, well, wide receiver didn't adjust, or maybe he thought this and this. I mean, those are very, very hard. That's why the hit rate on him is only 50% anyways. You know what I mean? And you don't take a bunch of those deep shots every game. You're really only taking about, I think 3.5 is the standard stat there on balls thrown 35 yards or deeper down the field. So, there's that. I got a crazy Carson Beck stat for you. You ready?
Ooh, I love stats. Back-to-back days?
I tweeted this one out, so might not be as crazy to some of you. Let me go back and read it. Carson Beck was ranked 13th in the 2020 signing class, okay, at the quarterback position, 13th overall. That means 12 quarterbacks were ranked higher than him. Of those 12 quarterbacks, 10 have either transferred or changed positions.
Wow.
3 of them have changed positions. 7 of them have transferred schools. Do you know the other 2?
Well, Carson Beck was...
Yeah, you know him. You were here.
Carson Beck was 2020, right?
Yes. If you get this, I'll be thoroughly impressed.
I tried doing it earlier today. And
it's really hard.
Yeah.
They're both in the NFL.
Oh, so it's not...
Quinn Ewers was a 21 guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Or 20.
I did the same thing.
I feel like it's CJ Stroud's got to be one of them.
CJ Stroud is one of them.
Let me get a hint.
First round draft pick, 1-1.
Oh, Bryce Young.
That's it. Everybody else has either transferred, flamed out, switched positions. They ranked Luke Doty higher than Carson Beck.
Shout out Beamer.
Shout out Beamer. Shout out Luke Dotes. Luke Doty been in college football forever. Luke Doty, a wide receiver now. There was a kid that committed to Cincinnati that was ranked higher than Carson. He is a wide receiver now. There was a kid that committed to Texas. 2 kids. They had a kind of a dual threat. He's a wide receiver now, or a running back, at Utah. And then Hudson Card, who is at Purdue now.
Yep.
There's a lot of these guys that were just like, damn. I guess it's really, really hard to evaluate.
I was going to say, is it more of a testament to like Georgia's talent evaluation and teams like Bama and Ohio State? That's why they succeed so much? Or is it also a testament to it's really hard to hit home runs on these evals?
I think it's all encompassing there. I do think that, Kirby from Georgia fans gets a lot of credit about talent development. And yeah, they do develop talent. I don't think they develop talent at a higher rate than everybody else, though, or at a lower rate than everybody else. I also think development of talent is like 50% an individual aspect and an individual requirement, or I should say responsibility. And then the other half is where you're playing it, right? You decide whether or not you're going to work hard. You decide whether or not you're going to skip a 6th rep in your squat sets. You decide whether or not you're going to run 100% in your sprints, not 92%. You do all of those things. Your coaches decide how you do the work or what work you are doing, right? So it's 50-50 in my opinion in development of talent. However, Kirby Smart has and his whole entire staff has a very unique talent in terms of the identification of talent. Ladd McConkey is just as much of they found that kid as he is they developed that kid. It's 50-50. Jordan Davis is just as much Trey Scott found that kid as it is Georgia developed that kid. You know why I know that? 8 games into his freshman year, he's on the damn field. And he's playing as a 3-star. Okay? Do you know the Jordan Davis story?
Vaguely.
So if you guys don't know it, I know my chat doesn't know it.
I kind of know it.
Trey Scott was a defensive line coach at UNC before he came to Georgia.
Right.
Jordan Davis is from North Carolina. Mm-hmm. Jordan Davis comes up to a camp working out as an offensive lineman at 6'6", 345 pounds. Trey Scott keeps him in his back pocket all the way until he gets to Georgia. And then calls him back up and says, hey, come on down here. And then guess what? Fucking 1st-round draft pick.
Oh, he hasn't marked him in a while.
Just as much selection of talent as it is development of talent. A.D. Mitchell came to Georgia as a freak. His first G-Day, he had more catches and touchdowns than anybody else on the roster. Just as much selection as development. So the next time those kind of questions get brought up or those kind of discussions get brought up, just understand it's an identification of talent. Because when Kirby signs a 3-star, guess who ain't in the building talking about stars and rankings? Kirby Smart. In fact, if you bring it up, it's a quick way to get fired, I would imagine. Very quick way to get fired.
We've heard that.
University of Georgia. We have. Off the record. Now apparently on. So yeah, I think saw that on Twitter. I get bogged down by that.
Yeah.
I get bogged down by that. Or bothered by that, I should say. Mikel Williams getting a lot of love as of late with NFL evals. Hey, Aprexel lenses. If you're watching right now, the answer is no. Three nights in a row. They want us bad. They sell binoculars. I got nothing for you.
I could use a pair of binoculars.
You need some knocks?
I mean, sure.
I don't need no binos. What do I need them for? Well, shit, that new press box, we're going to be up there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're going to be that?
No. We're hell or high water photo credentials this year.
No, I'm saying you would sit in the press box with binoculars?
With binos?
Yeah.
No, I'm not that guy. But there are those guys.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
And
they don't look like me.
I was about to say, you do not match that profile.
I do not match that profile.
I'm trying to go watch birds, dude. Nice.
It's not bad.
Woo.
That's actually pretty good, dude. What the hell?
Maybe you do need some binoculars.
All right.
Okay, all right. Mikel Williams.
The NFL is starting to turn on the tape of these draft eligible guys nowadays, right? So the NFL is finally getting a little taste of this. NFL media, at least. The NFL itself, scouting directors, they've known about this kid for a while. But anyways, the NFL media is finally getting into it. One of which is a friend of the show, Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed released an article today basically quantifying the chances that a player is going to be selected number 1 overall. He gave Mikel Williams the second best odds to be the number 1 overall pick, tied with James Pierce. And I want to read you the eval in terms of why he could be the number 1 overall pick. This is what Jordan Reed wrote in his article today on ESPN.com. It is a premium article, and anything Jordan writes, I would read because I think he does great work. I found him even before ESPN did. Why he could be the top pick. He says, Williams entered the season as the number 1 player on my board for the 2025 draft. Yes, it requires a bit of projection, but as a 6'5", 265-pound edge rusher, the junior pass rusher has enormous upside. And while he has 9 sacks combined over the past 2 seasons, the stat sheet doesn't tell the full story of how valuable he is to the Georgia defense. That's a ball knower.
I was about to say that is a
That
ball
right there
knower.
is a ball knower. I love finding a ball knower. Jordan Reed, former HBCU quarterback turned NFL draft evaluator, and he's one of the best. So there,
Seems like it.
Brooks, who is better, James Pierce or Mikel Williams, says the chat. I think and I don't think James Pierce is a bad run defender. Don't get me wrong when I say this, but there are two phases of football. There's stopping the run and there's getting off the field on third down. I think Mikel Williams drastically impacts the game on both sides of that discussion. I have said it before and I will say it again. I think Mikel Williams is Jadeveon Clowney with a high upside as a pass rusher. That's the thing that Jadeveon didn't have. Jadeveon coming out of South Carolina, he might have had some sack production, but he did not have a bag. Mikel Williams has had a bag of pass rush moves since he was 17 years old. His developer of those pass rush moves is now the developer of those pass rush moves for the Baltimore Ravens. His name's Chuck Smith. Played for the Falcons. Develops all kinds of elite edge rushers, so much so that the NFL coveted his talents. That's where he's at now. Mikel grew under him. Mikel learned under him. Mikel has applied those hand fighting skills better than... He's almost like a savant at it. Watching it and being around those guys. And here's how I knew he was different. We went out there to the San Antonio Adidas All-American game when Mikel was out there. And Mikel's out there. Marvin Jones Jr.'s out there. The Keeley kid that ended up at Alabama.
Yeah. Keon
Keeley was out there. All these really, really great edge rushers. And Marvin and Mikel were obviously committed to Georgia at that time. Ernest Green was out there that year. Those two guys are committed to Georgia. So they spend most of the week together. They practice together. They're both on the East team. And I watched on, because you don't get a lot of practice out there. You get a lot of standing around. They should give me a head nod over there. Honestly, why we don't go anymore. But anyways, I watched them at a helmet practice. They're just out there in helmets. And Mikel is having a full-on educational tutoring session with Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones is a higher rated kid at the time, I believe. Marvin Jones comes from St. Francis or St. Thomas, big school down there. American Heritage. Comes down there from American Heritage in South Florida. This is not a slapdick high school football program. It's a guy that's been around good football. And Mikel is over there giving him a master's course in how he sets up his moves. And even more so, Marvin was asking him, hey, how'd you do that? How'd you learn that? How do I set that up? What's my footwork on this? And Mikel is just regurgitating all of the knowledge that he knew at 17. This guy spent 3 years at the University of Georgia. He's going to come out even cleaner. I can't wait to see what he does this year as a stand-up jack. And I can't imagine that there are going to be some times on third down where maybe he's not the design pass rusher. Maybe he is in a three tech because, Jalen Walker needs some rushes. Damon Wilson needs some rushes, things like that. And I would shit my pants as an offensive coordinator if Jalen Walker's on one end, Damon Wilson's on the other, and I got an ISO one-on-one with my left guard who can't walk and chew gum. That would really scare me if Mikel Williams is over him. And that's what we're going to see. We're going to see a lot of that this year. So I can't wait. The NFL world seems to not be able to wait for what Mikel Williams is ultimately going to do this year.
Sure. Yeah.
It's very weird to even think about the fact that Georgia could have the number one overall pick, whether it be an offensive or defensive player.
Yeah.
Do you think it could be the number one and number two overall?
They could have 3 top 10 picks this year.
Mm. Yeah.
They could have the number one quarterback drafted, the number one edge rusher drafted, and the number one safety drafted.
Absolutely.
That's insane.
And the number one linebacker drafted. Smile could be the highest drafted linebacker this year.
He could.
I don't know. I think he might get overshined a little bit by CJ, but in terms of just general talking points. But if he comes into the season 100% healthy, and if he exits the season 100% healthy, and if he's healthy in Indy, Smile's going to do some crazy shit. Mm-hmm. I think Smile might be like a 4.46 guy.
Yeah.
At 235 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's that.
I don't even know what the class looks like this year. I mean, last year was it'll
be the cat from Penn State but he just transferred down to an
Barrett
edge.
Carter,
yeah.
Right?
Barrett Carter will be in the mix. That's 100% correct. There's several names.
Yeah, there's
Ohio State.
Ohio State's got one. But yeah, there's several guys that are going to be in that mix. But Smile might be up there in terms of the first guy off the board. So yeah, you could have a lot of really, really highly drafted position players and a quarterback this year. What's happening with Sam Mpemba is in the chat right now. Sam had a great offseason. I think they're just as excited about Mpemba as they are anybody in the room. So we put that on patreon.com/PrizePicks like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
It's been a while. Most of those off-season kind of updates come prior to spring practice when, you know, player-led 7-on-7s are going on, workouts are going on, running, you know, conditioning is going on. We start hearing, hey, so-and-so's having a great offseason. Sam Mpemba was one of those guys having a great offseason. Should we do player of the day?
Let's do it.
I want to talk about this guy first. Derek Meadows. All right, he is a 6'5". Hell, he looks 6'6", don't he? He a full 6'5". Looks 6'6" on tape and in person. He's from Bishop Gorman out there in Las Vegas. Is that in Las Vegas? Just outside of Las Vegas? It's in Nevada.
Yeah.
All right, so either way. Out there in Nevada, Bishop Gorman High School, 6'5", 200 pounds. I put it out on patreon.com/Brooks Austin about 2 hours ago. I think Georgia's in this a lot more than people think. And I don't think that. I was told that this morning. So there's that. Very rarely do I get phone calls where it's like, hey, bud, this is way closer than people realize. So we felt it necessary to bring it to you guys tonight and watch the tape. I haven't watched it at all. You guys skimmed it pregame.
It's good tape.
It's good tape?
Good tape.
I do want to watch that other tape. So go get that one pulled up. We'll give a we discovered kind of deal in terms of SEC guys, because when I put it on Georgia's radar today, they didn't know who he was. And it's very rare that Georgia doesn't know a 6'3", 10'8" runner, 10'9" runner. But either way, let's go to the board. Derek Meadows. Oh, I got to clip up. That's on me, baby. Here we go. Good Lord. In a 30?
That's what I said, dude. The 30's it's a red flag.
Oh, man. In number 30. That's not great, Bob.
But he quickly puts it to rest on this play.
Does he?
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look.
Interesting stance.
I hope a family member played in the league wearing 30 or something.
Yeah.
I hope there's some
Maybe he loves Steph Curry.
Kind of an interesting stance. But
Oh, wow. He's smooth. I can see it off the get-off. He's whoa. Okay. You can see how big he is when he stood up right there.
Yep.
I worry about the stiffness in the knee drop. Oh, yep. I worry about the stiffness in the knee drop when I see guys this tall. You're going to high point the shit out of this. Nope, over the shoulder.
That's a hard catch.
Yeah, it's a really hard catch. Over right shoulder.
It's not a. It doesn't look very flashy when you catch that, but that is a very hard catch.
Mm-hmm. I love his release at the line of scrimmage for somebody who's this big. Normally, corners get hands on real quick. That guy's got no shot. If you don't get hands on this guy and disrupt him at the line of scrimmage, he's going to gain speed. This dude's not even looking at him. He's playing quarters.
With him?
Oh, he's actually playing cover 2. They rolled.
That safety just got
good hand catch there.
Yeah, candy.
This is rare you see in high school. I want to talk about this. All right. This clip right here. All right. So, never mind. They showed a 2 shell. I thought they rolled it.
That safety's just outside the number or outside the hash.
He's got bad alignment.
Oops.
Yeah, cover 2, you got to be deeper than the deepest right there, safety. He does have some top end speed, doesn't he?
He does.
You got a player comp for me there, Curb?
Not yet. It's weird because he's so big, but he's so smooth. Like, you would think like a guy like this is more just a 50-50 guy, but he's got somewhat of a good enough release to not just be like, okay, he's not just a straight line runner.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I almost wonder nowadays where, like, you know, this kid might get like a Mike Evans comp.
Yeah.
I almost wonder nowadays if Mike Evans existed today, if he played in the slot.
That's a good question.
You know what I mean? Like, why can't this kid be T?
If Mike Evans existed in an offense other than Johnny Manziel,
is he in the slot?
Is he in the slot?
But he survived as a true X in the NFL, so maybe he's just that different.
I mean, he's thrived as
I don't
this is when I turned it off.
Yeah, I don't need double passes, bro. I don't need your double passes on your clips. Great for you, though. Glad Coach put it in the mix.
Yeah.
The other thing about Gorman is they play good football. Okay. Ooh, that's what I'm talking. This release is crazy for this.
He's got a great release.
He put this kid on his face. He
ran a 21.7 in the 200.
No hundreds?
No hundreds.
21.7 in the 200 moving.
Yeah, it is.
He ran a 52.4 in the 400.
That's very good.
I make you shit your pants when I tell you Darius Smith ran 49 seconds.
I believe it.
goofy.
Darius Smith was a sub 50-second 400-meter runner in high school. It was absurd. Oh, hello, I look orange. That's good tape. That's a good football player.
Mm-hmm.
No idea where he ends up if it ain't Georgia, though.
Looks like Notre Dame.
Yeah, does it?
So, good luck.
Do you want to watch the other one?
Yeah, I do, because I don't think enough people are talking about this kid. So,
No.
It's not the national hour. This kid is not a Georgia target yet. Maybe he got put on the radar today.
Possibly.
I don't know who did it, but maybe he got put on the radar today. Let's go watch it. Name me.
Tyler Robinson out of Laverne.
Dylan, isn't it?
Dylan Robinson.
Dylan Robinson.
Dylan Robinson out of Laverne, California, goes to Bonita High School.
This is SoCal. This is south of Los Angeles,
Yeah.
is what you guys are
Near
telling me.
San
This is like
Diego.
close to the border.
Yes.
Okay, so this is real Southern Cal, and this recruitment is down to Washington,
UCLA, and then also hold
Notre
on.
Dame, I believe, is the...
Yes.
So not exactly any big boys in the mix here. One SEC offer is what you were telling me pre-show. Arkansas. So not a big one. And like I said, Georgia, very relatively unaware of this guy when I talked to him about him today. He is 6'3". He is 190 pounds. He has verified 10,900 meters.
Blazing.
What I'm about to show you is a mold, an amalgamation, in my opinion, of what CJ Wiley does and puts on tape and physically is, and what Travis Smith Jr. puts on tape and physically is. I think this kid needs to have some type of conversation with an SEC program. This is one of those guys that goes to UCLA or goes to Washington, and next thing you know, he's Roma Dunze, and everybody's like, where'd this guy come from? Well, SoCal, nobody knew about him. Okay, I wanted to show you this tape because it is phenomenal. Kirby found this one today, so I want to give him his due. Great job on that one, my boy. The contact balance and the contact strength on this kid is superb. He almost runs pissed off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I love to see that. Here we go, a little tight end clip right here. Watch this one, okay? He got guys draped all over him, and somehow he scores. I love a highlight tape where I look at it and go, ain't no way you score. And then you turn around and score. That's exactly what this kid does on a variety of different clips. It's different facets of beating your ass too. He gonna run through you. He gonna run around you. He gonna run by you. That is very rare to see at the wide receiver position. And here in a second, I love to see what I'm about to see, which is him flip over to the defensive side of the football and show a little bit of that thump. Okay, which tells me, hey, you a dog. You know, you got that DOG in you. I don't know why that's skipping on us, but he high points really well as well. I love his ability to catch the ball away from his body. It's something we talked about in pre-show while we were watching the tape.
He's got incredibly strong hands, too. There's a clip that, you know the clip I'm talking about, where he essentially just fights it through two players.
Yeah.
In the slot, outside, plays DB, super athlete, 10,900 meter runner. Where are the big time O's? I'm not taking a shot at Washington. I'm not taking a shot at UCLA. I'm taking a shot at Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee. I'm looking at all you guys because this guy can play for y'all.
This is the one.
And then just
wrestle it away. They show it from a different angle on here.
Yeah, this is great.
You've been in this industry long enough. What are some of the reasons as to why players like this go under the radar, or maybe necessarily don't get the big looks? Or if there's anything at all, or if it just slipped through the cracks somehow?
Yeah. I mean, in this state, I find it really, really hard to be, quote unquote, slept on.
Yeah.
I mean, for Christ's sakes, I saw 50 high schools this year.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very hard for you to be slept on, especially with the way that Georgia and now Georgia Tech really scavenged through the availability inside the state. Georgia State now with Dale McGee's being a little bit more interstate focused. So I think it's really, really hard to be, quote unquote, slept on or missed in this state. However, I don't know jack diddly about Southern Cal. I don't know how they go about their business. I know I see our boy from Fight On, the website, Scott Schrader. I know I see Scott out here all the time. But when I go to LA, I see the same national correspondents that are in charge of recruiting and paying attention to everybody. And I've always said it's a fool's game. It's a fool's game. But I find it hard to believe that when I contact Georgia, they don't know about this kid.
Yeah.
That to me was a little bit weird. They were unknowing of a 6'3", 10'9" guy. That doesn't happen. That shouldn't. I'm not saying it shouldn't happen. It doesn't happen very often. So yeah, I to answer your question, I don't think I did. I don't know how guys like this, and technically he hasn't slipped through the cracks.
Yeah, I mean he's still.
Yeah, but why isn't USC in on this mix? I don't know. I understand why Oregon's not. They got the Dakarian Moore kid. They've got another 4-star receiver. They're in the mix for a couple more 5-stars. Like, I get that. I get why Dan's not paying attention to this, or at least not in the mix here. I'm looking at Utah. I'm looking at Texas A&M.
I think Utah has offered him.
Okay,
they were in the mix, but they didn't make the top 3.
All right, so maybe he just don't want to be a Ute, and that's fine.
Why not?
No first round or no good wide receivers out of Utah since probably Steve Smith Jr., right?
Probably.
Or senior, excuse me. But either way, loved that tape. Felt it was necessary to watch tonight, just because, in a couple of years, if that guy's dominating college football, we can do a toe-to-toe.
Yeah, we saw that. We discovered him.
I love a good old-fashioned toe-to-toe. What is going on with that thing? I look like a Oompa Loompa. Huh?
You look fine over here.
Okay, I look like an Oompa Loompa every time I come back over there on that.
Buddy.
Yeah, that's spending 5 days in Florida after spending 3 days building the daggum playground set in my backyard after spending 5 days in LA.
It looks nice though. I slid down the slide when I came here.
Word?
No, I'm just.
I was about to say.
The look on your face is like, did you really?
It's like, dang.
Nah.
All right, I'm good. Y'all good?
I think we're good.
So.
All right, love you guys for watching. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button on your way out, showing your support wherever you can. Appreciate you. Love you. Bye.